I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we could have a roll call of the board members, please.
Robertson.
Here.
Racine is not there. I can't see. Okay. Yulee.
Here.
Augustinelli.
Here.
Castiglione.
Here.
Fudge.
Here.
And DeGood.
Here. All right, we'll move on to our first opportunity for public comment, and I want to just say I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. We have several items on our agenda tonight which have public hearings specifically associated with them. On our old business, we have one public hearing regarding Jones rezoning. We have another public hearing regarding a proposed zoning amendment for a moratorium procedure. And for those of you who are here because of your concerns about data centers, I appreciate you coming and having your opportunity to speak. But to be clear, there are no data centers on the agenda tonight. What we have on the agenda tonight is a moratorium procedure to, in all likelihood, what's been discussed by this planning commission as well as the Board of Trustees is enacting this moratorium procedure so we can in fact proceed with engaging in a moratorium related to data centers. So I would ask and hope that anyone with their public comments related to the moratorium are here to speak specifically to the moratorium and whether they're in favor of or against a moratorium. And anybody who'd like to step up and speak with regard to anything they would like is welcome to have 3 minutes at the stand to speak now. There's one period for public comment. There's another period for public comment at the end of our agenda, as well as the 2 periods for public comment associated with those 2 specific projects. So if you are here to speak about a data center, you could certainly speak at this first public comment period, or you could speak at the moratorium opportunity. But again, folks, there's no data center that is being considered that is on our agenda for tonight. Only consideration of a moratorium that likely would lead to a moratorium associated with data centers. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. If we could have a nice orderly effort for people to step up to the podium, state your name, state your address. Yes, sir. Step up to the podium if you have something to say.
May I comment first?
Sure, go ahead, Steve.
I have the, if you want to keep people to 3 minutes, since we have a large crowd, I do
Excellent.
have a timer available. So.
Thank you for that. Well, let's. We're just going to go ahead and start with the timer.
All right.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Dave Friedman. I'm a Garfield resident, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm here to address the issue of guardrails and how it applies to tonight's agenda. We all know about guardrails, the protective boundaries that prevent accidents or keep systems within safe limits. We've all seen these physical barriers that are provided on roads, bridges, and balcony railings to prevent accidents, crashes, and falls. In a broader metaphorical sense, guardrails act as established rules, policies, or safety controls meant to keep a system or a behavior within safe and responsible limits. Ultimately, guardrails act as bowling bumpers, protecting the people, the environment, and the common good by preventing us from veering off course into dangerous and or costly territory. As a planning body, you are responsible in many ways to establish and maintain guardrails that protect our community from harm and preserve its identity. Government has this as a large part of their responsibility as well. I implore you as a planning commission and to recommend to the Garfield Township Board to adopt a moratorium in order to develop strong criteria under which such facilities may operate within our township. I suggest the following as some, but not all, the suggested criteria: noise and generator impacts with enforceable limits, water sourcing and demand criteria, environmental protections for air quality, emissions, groundwater, and nearby drainage, traffic visual screening and site design, security and neighborhood impacts, and long-term accountability, and a point of contact with the people that run it. Thank you for this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you for comment.
Hey there. My name is Tim Jackson. I live on Linden Avenue here in Garfield Township. Been here about a year. Love it. Want to keep it that way. So we know there's many questions about data centers, labor impact, water use, grid impact, noise. They're hiding behind LLCs. We don't know who owns them or uses them. All of these have been discussed ad nauseum with pros and cons. It's very smart for you to take the time to fully analyze any potential impacts. We've seen in the press many jurisdictions, including boards like this, have been rolled over by data center developers because adequate zoning protections and limitations were not put in place, and they had by right the ability to build these things. We see that in Saline and other places. So I'm asking you to take the very reasonable step of taking the time to thoughtfully analyze any future applications by approving the moratorium before you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Folks, if we could keep the applauses to a minimum, maybe if we could applaud at the end, it would just help us to move along. I want to give everybody an opportunity to make a public comment, and I'd like us not to have to all be here till 11 o'clock in order to do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nancy Smith. I used to be Rye. I actually live in Frankfurt, but had lived in Traverse City area. And this is just the AI and the data center issues are a very important and unchangeable issue in this area. If we start to end up building these things, our area will forever be changed. And there's probably nobody who uses the computer more than I do. And quite frankly, I find AI to be something that's really going to deteriorate our ability to think as humans, honestly. The couple things that I want you to think about, and I saw this, and so I just wanted to bring this to light. In New York, they're fighting a data center, and they came up with some criteria for data centers to meet that I think are important for you to hear. In New York, in this area, they said immediate freeze to all new permits for data centers consuming 20 megawatts or more of electricity, and that virtually covers every single planned facility. Require that before any new data center is approved, the local community must receive a public hearing where residents can speak, object, and demand answers. For data centers to pay their own separate electricity and water rates so that the massive energy and water consumption no longer gets quietly spread across the bills of families and small businesses. Require that all data centers to prove that they're using renewable energy and meeting strict efficiency standards with third-party verification. No self-reported numbers, no empty promises. Mandate that data centers invest directly in the local communities that host them. No taking everything and giving nothing back. Order a full state environmental impact study on every existing data center, their energy use, water consumption, air quality, impact, noise, and land use within 18 months. Really, I think a moratorium is really appropriate, but you know, we have a beautiful area, and water is one of our biggest factors, and we really have to trust that you'll all make the right decision. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Kelly Clark, 9882 Center Road. Yes, if you can't kill a data center tonight, then I would highly encourage you to support the moratorium here. Really, there are two issues for me. Data centers are nothing but mass surveillance state. Fourth Amendment was written for a reason. Founders lived under a government that searched homes, seized papers, and invaded private life without justification. They built a wall against it. The same government supposed to be protecting our rights has been tearing that wall down with mass surveillance for years. The second issue is water. I grew up on Power Island. West Bay was my backyard. Today, East Bay is my backyard. The Great Lakes aren't a backdrop for me. They're home. And I'll tell you, when you grow up close to fresh water, you don't take it for granted. You understand in your bones that what we have here is rare and that it requires protection. So when the conversation turns to placing data centers near our watershed, I feel compelled to stand up and say, not here, not like this, not without a real reckoning with what we stand to lose. And let's talk about water, because that's where this hits closest to home. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the statistics. A single large data center can consume over 5 million gallons of water per day. Here's the part they don't put in the press releases. The water used by data centers is mostly evaporated, which means it concentrates existing pollutants, including PFAS, nitrates, and heavy metals, and whatever water gets discharged back into the watershed. Discharged water carries higher concentrations of dissolved solids, calcium, chloride, silica, which can affect drinking water taste, lower crop yields, and prove toxic to aquatic life. Increased temperature and salinity in that discharge may lower oxygen levels and disrupt the metabolism of freshwater wildlife. We're talking about our lakes, our rivers, and our drinking water. Now, they will tell you this is an economic opportunity and they'll promise jobs, and to be fair, there will be construction work, and that's real. But according to a 2025 policy brief from University of Michigan researchers, data centers do not bring high-paying tech jobs to local communities. They compared the long-term economic impact to building a bridge or a highway. Research from Food and Water Watch found that as few as 23,000 people held permanent data center jobs across the entire United States as of 2024, roughly 0.01% of all employment, while the industry consumed more than 4% of all electricity in this country. One facility, a handful of permanent positions. That's the trade they're asking us to make. And what do we pay for the privilege? Electricity rates, as you heard, in your data centers can rise by up to 20% for surrounding homes and businesses. We've watched these rates climb already, and we don't need another pressure pushing them higher. At least 30 states introduced legislation in 2026 to address data center water impacts because communities across the country are waking up. They're watching it happen, and they're trying to get ahead of it, and I appreciate the fact you're trying to get ahead of that here. The Great Lakes holds 20% of the world's surface fresh water. It's not a statistic, it's a responsibility. The people who came before us protected it. People who come after us will need it. We don't have the right to trade it for a server farm that employs fewer people than a decent-sized restaurant. I'm not against progress. I'm not against technology. I'm saying that you're going to boycott AI is like saying you're never going to use plastic. You can't stop it. It's always running in the background 24/7. I am, however, against making permanent sacrifices for temporary gains. What we have here, this water, this shoreline, this place we call home.
Sir, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Took 10,000 years to become what it is, and we won't be able to get it back.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chloe McCarthy. I live at 634 East 8th Street in downtown Traverse City. I used to live in those apartments right on the other side of those trees. Even though I'm not a Garfield Township resident, I strongly believe an AI data center will impact not just Garfield Township, but the entire region via our watershed, via our lakes. I'm married to a husband who has a master's in hydrogeology and spent years studying the impacts of water being withdrawn from our watershed. And the reality is that once you withdraw it, it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years for it to recalibrate itself. And so I'm sure all of you enjoyed a beautiful 4th of July on the lake, maybe boating, kayaking, and I implore you to think about the value of our water and have in the back of your mind that this is a resource that we have everything to lose and the AI companies have everything to gain. This state provides 20% of the world's fresh water. It was just a matter of time before they came after us. And so I just wanted to be here tonight to say, we cannot let this happen in our community. It's just not okay. I fully support a moratorium. I don't see any incentive to rushing this process because, again, we have everything to lose, and the AI data centers are just going to continue preying on us. So I implore you to think critically about this issue and know that the hundreds of people in this room likely represent tens and tens of neighbors per person that all agree with this. I've yet to come across anyone in our community who wants this. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, again, I need to ask if you step to the podium to make a comment, you need to state your full name and your address. Thank you.
Mark Wilson, 3182 Silver Hills Lane in the township. I have a lot to say. I prepared a lot, but if this is just about the moratorium tonight, I'm going to say I support the moratorium. I think it's a great idea. Everyone behind me is going to say the same thing, and in the future we'll talk more about the details. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
There goes a lot of that. How's it going, everybody? Good to see everybody again. I'm Dr. Mitch Diston. I live in Antrim County. I am also the candidate for state rep in the 104th district, which I know is in this area.
I'm sorry, your address, please?
Oh, yeah, 9415 US 31 Highway. So I'll see you there later. But yeah, so obviously this is a big issue for me. This is a big issue that I'm running on. Our nonprofit has been leading statewide efforts against data centers for last year. I don't believe I need to talk a lot about it today. I believe this speaks for itself. This is just telling you right now what exactly you need to do. Enact the moratorium, but also import new ordinances that don't allow any data centers, because we know that you guys are at risk right now. So one of those is noise pollution. Another way to stop data centers is to enact no NDAs, no redactions of public documents, because again, those are public documents. That should speak for itself there. So yeah, I guess what I've learned with fighting these data centers across the state is that these developers are the new snake oil salesmen. They will try to sell you on these data centers, but basically everything that they tell you is a lie. That's what this scientific literature proves. They are going against what the actual truth is on data centers. Also, our governor is as well. So we will be talking more about these lies actually next week in the McGuire Room at the TC Library at 6 p.m. So if you want to know more about the science, I'm happy to talk about it there. Just briefly, just note this. What happened in Saline, a lot of those people are my friends now. The township voted against the data center 5-1. They were threatened to be sued by Oracle. They're only a township with about $1 million in taxable revenue, so they couldn't afford a lawsuit. So they were basically forced into accepting this data center project. So there's a lot of different aspects of the data center fight to take into consideration here. First thing with this Saline Township, by the way, it started at $7 billion, then went up to $16 billion. Just 2 days ago, there was a new study or a new article that came out. They're actually asking for $43 billion in tax abatements. So this is what big tech does. When you give them an inch, they will always take a mile. So just keep that into consideration, because we've seen the exact same thing everywhere across the state right now. So I know I will have some of my colleagues also come on, talk about the technical aspects. One big thing I'll talk about next week, there's no such thing as an environmentally conscious data center. That is an oxymoron. The closed loop systems are actually more environmentally unfriendly than the open loop systems. That's also an oxymoron. Closed loop systems also have an open loop system. So just for everybody here, next Wednesday, 6 p.m. At the McGuire Room in TC Library. Also protests for there's a national day of protests against data centers on the 18th. So please come out to that. Thank you guys.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Zuverink. I'm a retired federal compliance officer. I'm not going to give you my address, but I will tell you I live in Wexford County. My areas of focus are transportation, energy, government, and municipal law. I came here tonight to encourage you. Obviously, this is a very emotionally charged topic. Saline Township was not prepared. If you get put into a position where you are being forced to push something in that you are not interested in, there is a group of people who will handle that for you. My concern is that this is not a data center company that wants to build this data center. It's a real estate developer, an investment company looking at it, who wants to store their clients' data there. I don't know what that data is. I've worked with data firms for 30 years, and ours are not using water and they're not using power. Okay, they have a closed loop. It's a waste heat to power or behind the meter, if you want to Google those things. My concern is if you put the moratorium in place and that's how it's just going to remain, that is fine. If you get pushed into a position where you need to do something on the regulations, I'm going to suggest you follow the lady from Frankfurt's suggestion. You mandate that they have to be waste heat to power. That means they will never, ever touch our grid. And that same waste heat to power system can be used for cooling and heating, okay? Data centers produce enough energy, enough heat to warrant that type of technology just fine. Be mindful, I guess, moving forward. People don't come up here to see that, right? I have a farm. I have 6 heifers, a bull, and 5 babies. And I checked my camera going back to Monday. 17 people stopped to take pictures and videos of our baby cows. Okay, people drive up here because it's pure. and it's clean. My concern is that the firm who's opened this conversation with you resides in Illinois. There was a feasibility study done in 2022 where we highlighted the 10 states with the best setup for data centers. That was power, reliability, inexpense, and internet. Those states were Texas, Virginia, Iowa, Arizona, Oregon, Illinois, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Ohio. The company that's having a conversation with you is from Chicago, Illinois. Since we didn't meet the criteria in this state for energy, I would strongly suggest they build it in their own state where they did meet the criteria. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Sarah Cashel. I live on Wellington Street in Traverse City. I would like to thank you all for listening to all of us today. I know it's hot. There's a lot of people in the room, so please do your best. Drink some water. If you need some water, it's very important. Raise your hand. We will get you some so that you can listen to all of us. It is boiling. And there's people outside in the hallway who are also really hot because they care about this issue. I am here because the last time I was here, we were talking about a special land use permit that would be required for data centers. And one thing that has stuck out in my mind is when trustee mentioned that there's already, keep in mind, he said, there's already an existing data center on Cass Road. It's established. We all know that there is a potential for a data center to be proposed on Seabrant Road. I've heard the argument that both of these centers are small and that you're going to compare the two. Two small centers can differ drastically, and we shouldn't compare apples and oranges just because they're the same size. A town in Wyoming has banned data center wastewater. I would ask you to look at the crowd here tonight and know that they are probably represented by 10 people each, and consider during your moratorium banning data centers. Small ones, big ones, any of them from the township, because that's who we are, that's who elected you, and that's who you're here for today. I am not interested in what could be considered a safe data center. I don't think anybody is. Nobody can really say that these are going to be sustainable, right? It's the safe cigarette. We know that's not a thing. Does anybody here want a super small data center a mile from the Boardman Lake? No. No, we don't. Please don't do it, okay? Please take this time during your moratorium to think carefully, and I ask you to ban them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, my name is Jean Ingram, and I live in Acme Township on 6007 Gulf Crest Drive, and I'm glad to be here tonight. I learned a lot about Saline Township voting not for data center. I learned that what happened was that they did get threatened with lawsuits. There were 14 points that they had, and they had to accept it. And that's because our state, each township, doesn't have the money to fight it on its own. I'm not going to go through everything I prepared tonight because a lot of people have said it. But I do strongly suggest if each township could contact each other and go straight to the government and create a huge fund in order to fight these, because they're not going to go away. This is easy money. Now, another thing I wanted to say about the governor. When this first started a couple years ago, none of us really knew what the impacts would be. None of us knew enough about this. We now know. We now know what was wrong. But at the time, I don't think we did. So I want to applaud you for having us all here, but I also want you to really think about getting together with every single township that we can to create a huge force. Because if one township got overridden, so can this one. Very easy. So that's a point, that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to put that bee in your bonnet so you could really think about it and figure out how to connect with all of them in the whole states. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name's Joe Cavallero. I don't feel comfortable giving my address. I hope that's okay. I just wanted to point out a couple things. It seems like there's a pretty good sentiment that these aren't wanted whatsoever, so I wonder if a moratorium is going far enough. I also think that based on what I've heard today, that maybe we should be focused on coming up as a community, finding people who understand what's these issues and what has happened in the past, and coming up with ways to prevent and stop these people from actually going through with it, because it seems pretty clear that there's a consensus in our community that this is not wanted. So maybe the part of what we're doing in this is to find people who can help us to, when it comes to lawsuits or whatever, be prepared and have a plan. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I am Heather Weiser. I live at 4075 North Crofton Road in South Boardman. Good to see all of you again. Thank you for taking the time to even discuss the moratorium. I think a lot of boards that we've come up against are resistant, and this is actually a really great opportunity for y'all to make a statement to your constituents. And we have to remember, the tech bros, they're fake nerds. They really talk a lot, but their actions we're seeing aren't living up to the talk. And so we need to start listening to the real nerds like Mitch and like Samantha and like your residents of Garfield, who are very smart. So I just want to take a second, have everybody look at who you work for. Remind you who you work for. Everybody give a wave, because we're here to help you. We're here to remind you why all of us are here, and that's for the land, for the water, for the recreation, for the family, for the animals, for the hunting, for the fishing. The Kalkaska data center was proposed 1,400-acre data center right over the river from me, 2 miles from my property that I'm trying to make into a peaceful retreat center. So I have a lot of skin in the game to help these residents understand that they're coming for us because we have the infrastructure. The infrastructure is already there. They're wanting the what you have, which is saving them money. And they're shiny, they're slick, whether they're oil and gas proprietors or real estate agents, they certainly aren't making smart decisions for the citizens of Michigan. And I just am very, very happy and honored that y'all are taking the time to even talk about this, and everybody is really, really focused. So if you're ready to join hands with us, we're ready for that too. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, my name's John Mangrum. I live right downtown on the bay. I'm not going to say my address, but I am a content creator, and I've been doing research and investigation on these data centers for a couple months now, and I've gotten millions of views, and I've talked to thousands of people who live by these data centers, and they've told me the detriments that they cause to their communities and stuff. People who say they've had their electric bills raised by 250%. They've had their rivers, creeks, lakes run dry. I've seen it firsthand. I've talked to these people, and the number one thing that they say is if they try to put a data center in your community, you cannot let it happen. You must do a moratorium. You got to show up. That's what makes me so proud to see my whole community show up here today. I love Michigan. I love our lakes. I love, just as much as anybody else. And so I just think it's so important for us to put a ban on these data centers and speak up about it and do everything we can to stop it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Nicole Mampy. I will not be citing my home address unless there's a legal statute that compels me to do so. I don't think there is, because many have gone by without having done so. One of the things that you need to understand about AI data centers is that the cost has been established, not just from an economic perspective, not just from an ecological one or a human resource one, but the value has not. There is so much to this discourse that has been an absolute farce. The AI companies themselves have not yet been able to prove themselves profitable, but they are gobbling up the resources that are required for every single one of us to survive. And as many have made mention of today, you are publicly elected officials, and it would behoove you to represent the people in this room. In a country that is so divided right now, this is one of the few topics that is not a partisan one. Unilaterally, we do not want this to be here. And that is something that is so powerful in this moment. So if we know what the cost is and we do not have an established value, well, it could be alluring to say to yourself that we're a small area, we need economic growth. This is not that type of economic growth, and the longevity of data centers is not there. There's also not long-term empirical evidence to cite that they are useful or that they have the merit that the resources that they gobble up and take away in a permanent sense have any exchange that's useful to us as humans. That's what I wanted to say today. I'm a lifelong resident of this area. I would urge all of you to be stewards of the water here and to say that a moratorium is not enough. We need an outright ban. We need to say no here. We need to say no here together today, not just for Traverse City, not just for these 5 counties, but for the Great Lakes states. And we need to come together on that platform, and you have an opportunity to make that stand. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Stephen Ching. I'm a resident of Traverse City for almost 20 years now. I live 44 Peninsula Trail. I'm a registered nurse at Mutz Medical Center and a father of 4 who all go to public schools here. I had what essentially was turning into a manifesto written, and there's no way I'd get it out in 3 minutes, and a lot of these people have said it better than I could. But what it boils down to is I am 100% for free market. You got a business idea, it's profitable, people want to pay for your services, fine. But the way these exist in their current state, it's only profitable if they force the communities that they land in to pay a share of that business and to accept the damage that they do. As Mitch back here said, it's not that the technology doesn't exist, it's that it's not profitable for them to do it that way. They destroy the water supply, the ecosystems. Traverse City relies on our landscape, our ecosystems, our waterways. Those are precious to everybody here. And as the woman just before me said, moratorium is not acceptable. I think just a straight up ban. If you tell them they have to generate their own power for usage and they have to guarantee under potential legal penalty that they're not going to damage the community, damage the waterways, do irreversible environmental damage, it's no longer profitable for them to come here. And I'll send the rest of this in a letter with sources cited and everything. I'm not that great of a public speaker. I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for considering what I'm about to say. My name is Carrie Gross. I run a business on CAS 3054 CAS. I've been running a small business here in Traverse City for over 3 years, and I hope to do so until I die. Data centers, I really appreciate that you are considering a moratorium. I am ever so grateful for that. I would like to agree with the woman in black that a ban would be better. A ban really would be better, but if there's a way to write a moratorium in a very specific way that it is as long as humanly possible, that would be great. Because a data center is not an economic development. It's not protecting our families. It's not protecting our livestock or our crops. People must take priority over an industrial experiment. Size doesn't matter. I know we've said some things about size here. How many of us here, I used to watch VCR tapes with my cassette on my big record player. I used to have all these things. Now you can fit all that in a tiny little microchip. So I don't think size matters because I think like we all know things are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but that doesn't mean that the economic impact is getting smaller. In fact, think about a data center. Even if they were to build a brand new state-of-the-art one right now today, in 6 months that's going to be obsolete because that's how fast technology is changing. So even if they try to sell you on like, oh, it's small, oh, it's this, keep that in mind. The technology is always changing and moving, and it's not going to be that way forever. People keep saying data centers are going to reuse the water as if it just goes back into our ground clean. It absolutely does not do that. Data centers often use evaporative cooling systems where millions of gallons of waters can just evaporate and never come back to our local watershed. It is not true that they need to use water. They do not. There is a more expensive way that they can cool it that does not use water whatsoever. No one needs a data center to live. We don't need AI, we don't need flock cameras or any technology to live, actually, but we do need water. We do need water. A data center that went up in Indiana recently, the residents are saying that the water tastes weird. I mean, that's just something to consider, right? Firsthand experience. Dr. Masaru Emoto used to study water, and he said that even words, my water always says gratitude and love, because even writing words on your water changes the molecular structure of it. If I were to write hate or something bad, it would literally look different under a microscope. So just think about that. If this is being used for whatever proper thing, and then it's going back into the groundwater, what is it looking like once it's going back into there? Tammy Clark, an environmental health scientist, said no such thing as a closed loop system. It's still picking up and contaminating. It's picking up anti-corrosives, biocides, forever chemicals that blow back down into our water, and water treatment facilities are not equipped to filter those contaminants in the way, okay? They were not built to sift that out, okay? They weren't. So that's something that we really need to think about. So in closing, I am ever so grateful that this board is giving us this time to speak. I am grateful that you are considering and moving towards a moratorium. I encourage you to make that moratorium as airtight, as hard, and as long as you possibly can. And you are elected representatives. I think it's obvious what the Michiganders want. People over profit. Water is life.
Hello, my name's Darren Albrecht, 8111 Albrecht Road, Grant Township. Everybody's really done an excellent job of pointing this out to you. I just come to talk to you guys and everybody here, because the reality for us to have any control over this, we got to get a handle on our government and our governor. And you're all familiar, maybe not everybody's familiar with the big solar panel project they want to put down in Wexford County, adjoining Grant Township of Grand Traverse County. All of us down there are against it. Yet this company, Ranger Power, who is from Illinois, imagine that, this data center guy's from Illinois. I wonder if there's a connection there, who knows. But if we don't want it, they can go to the state, and the governor has a 3-person panel that she picked, and they can override us. That's wrong. So I urge everybody here, it's on everybody here, every week, tell 10 of your friends, email, text, call all our representatives and tell them that needs to be repealed. We should have a choice on how we live, and we don't right now. I respect every one of you guys on the board. I serve on several boards, and I know that you want to do the right thing, but oftentimes your hands are tied. But in this case, I think all of us who have some sort of power, we stand up, and regardless if you're threatened to be sued over it by these big money people, we got to stand up and say enough is enough. You've crossed the line that can't be crossed. Yes. We're human beings. Yes. This is not, we're going too far with this. And again, I thank you all, and I appreciate, I do support a moratorium, but don't think that's your answer. I really think you should take the hard line and ban them, and maybe put some conditions. Hey, and I say, they want to sue you, you got the whole northern Michigan on your side. Because somebody said for every person in here, there's 10 more. No, there are hundreds more for every person in here. I have yet to find one person that said, yeah, data center would be good. And some data centers are good. But where they're going with this, wrong. I do not support it, and there's going to be problems, I can imagine, for people. For our kids, our grandkids, they're taking away humanity. I work in a high-tech industry, and I can actually see what it's doing to people. It's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, I'm Audrey Willette. I do not have an address because I am homeless. I've been homeless for a while. Garfield County is a place that I reside sometimes. I do not know a lot about data centers. I'm not a data center nerd. But I can share a story with you from my childhood about a greedy corporation that came in and stole my aunt and uncle's farm that was next to my family's farm, and the devastation that that greedy corporation did to my family and to that community, and the destruction of that land. That destruction of that land destroyed my family. It destroyed my father. My father became angry because he lost his livelihood as a farmer, and all he ever wanted to be was a farmer. He spent 5 years fighting this greedy corporation to stop the destruction of this precious land. And when he ran out of money, him and my aunt and uncle ran out of money, they were forced to leave this small little town that I grew up in and I spent most of my time in. And that devastation is still felt today. It's what moves me as an activist. I have seen the suffering of my community in so many aspects, between the torture of the land and the suffering of the homeless people here who cannot afford housing. I ask you to look at one another and remember our humanity, and remember that we are human and that we deserve fresh water and we deserve a beautiful home, and we should not sell paradise to a greedy corporation so more people don't suffer.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Jocelyn. I grew up on East Bay, little motel my parents ran in the 60s, 70s, and I enjoyed the water, the precious water that we have. I feel like Michigan has been asleep at the wheel as far as our natural resources. It's not that we haven't regarded it as precious, we've just kind of been like moseying along and not paying attention to how important it is. This is an issue, I think, that now brings it to a head. I do not support a moratorium. I support a ban. I think we need to step back and pay attention to why we're doing the things we're doing, how they will help all of our neighbors, how they might hurt our neighbors, how does it affect our farming, our food, everything that we rely on. And I think it would behoove this commission to step back and just slow it down and look at what is the future that they envision for our township. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Marco I. Frady. I'm from Ludington. I lead a group down there of about 100. We grew so much in just 1 month. And for me, it all started on June 8th. That's when I started researching this subject. On June 8th, our Ludington City Council approved a CPACE district. And after I openly questioned them on this and received only tight lips as a response, I researched what the program is. And it funds data centers. Now we are in the process of starting a petition to get the city to repeal that program. In a bordering township, the supervisor, he answered yes to my question. I asked him if he was aware of potential secret plans that we are uncovering of putting a data center in our area. And he said yes. Later, he denied it. I told him it was his right to deny it, but that I didn't feel bad for him because he compromised the safety of his community. And I hope that's not happening here. It seems in our Mason County that there's certain prominent figures that are a part of these secret plans. I've been posting all this to Facebook since June 8th. And recently it has occurred to me that we're not just defending little old Ludington. We have a consumer's power plant. And this power plant powers a lot of the Midwest. It's a hydroelectric plant. And this week, I got a follow request from the vice president of Meta and Facebook. She's an executive as well. And she is the spokeswoman of that company in Europe and the Middle East and Africa. So it doesn't look like Ludington is so little. Now, I think it's very sensible to say that all these pieces together points to secret plans for a data center. My background is this. I came to Ludington from Detroit to be a newsman in the Ludington Daily News. I was fired for doing exactly these kind of things, investigating. And since then, I've made Ludington my home.
Thank you for your comment.
I have 5 seconds. I am now running for city council. And I've learned from my past mistakes. That's why I'm doing this.
Thank you.
Hi, me again, Federal
I'm sorry,
Compliance
ma'am.
Officer.
You already,
Nope, I know.
You already
and-
spoke.
Yes,
so
I
if
did.
You're
I'm
welcome
gonna
to come
clear-
back and speak at another time, but I'd appreciate it if you'd make room for others to speak.
I have to go.
I'm
going
sorry,
to-
but there are other people who can't even make it tonight. So, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to allow people to speak multiple times.
I need to tell you.
The rules.
No,
You're welcome to
that's
stay.
fine. You are
Ma'am,
opening yourself up for a
ma'am,
huge action.
I'm sorry, we have policies and procedures that we need to follow. You're going to ask us all to follow policies and procedures to enact new ordinances in this moratorium. If we let this woman step forward and speak whenever she wants, then...
Sir, I have 12 years in constant.
Ma'am,
no, you
step
do
away
not
from the
want to-
podium.
You do not want to do that. You do not want to do that. Okay? I have 12 years in constitutional law. The First Amendment was not given to us so we can stand on opposite sides of the table and yell at each other. The definition says it was so we could address our elected officials in speech that is unencumbered and without limit. That means 3-minute rule and limiting it to agenda items. There is already a First Amendment team from our side taking up a case in Wexford County. My only message to you, call your lawyer and ask them what I said. And if he agrees with me, and he will if he's worth his salt, stop limiting comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Ani Buju. Hi, hello. Tara John, Indigenous cause, Madwayashe, Kwe, Indigenous cause. My government name's Tara John. I'm also known as a woman that speaks the language of the wind. Mukwa Indodam, Kachiwik Wadong, and Dojaba. I'm an honored member of the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. Full disclosure, I don't have an address in Garfield Township, but I have a very vested interest in these properties. I have children that live here. I have community members that frequent here. I work here. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone for coming out. It's appreciated. This is what community looks like. Secondly, I am here because standing in the back of the room, I do see people that look like me, but not a lot have come up to say anything. So I am here for that. I speak as a water protector in my community and a social and ecological activist. I would like to share a story that is as old as America. Around 250 years, I think, is what we all celebrated. And it goes commodification, exploitation, extraction, and exit. And that is what we are trying to avoid. And unfortunately, my community knows a whole lot about that, and I would advise against that very thing. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Justin Rivard. I'm the owner of Nocturnal Bloom Brewing, located at 3344 Cass Road. I just wanted to express my interest in a moratorium or a ban. I also am here representing Earth and Ales Brewing Company, as well as Acorn Kitchen. All of those businesses disagree with a data center. An outright ban would be great. A moratorium is a good start. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and for hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, my name is Ildy Kraft, and my address is 87 Stafford Drive. There are 2 points that I would like to bring up that I find are very relevant and important. Number one, the regulations for internet use have not even been established that adequately cover the issues that we have, whether it's children being on websites that are not appropriate, whether it's safety, whether it's anything. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the congressional hearings of people asking questions of the data bros. They have an unequal ability to influence the government. The government has not been interested in preventing monopolies in almost 100 years. And that's a very big issue because we see where the power is. Secondly, and I say this with caution, when it comes to this kind of money and this kind of power with these organizations, I'm asking you to please prepare yourselves to be blackmailed, to receive incentives, whether it's for you or for your family, whether you're harassed, to get you to do what these very large companies who have a lot of money at stake will not, it would not stop them to create troubles in your life unless you vote the way that they want you to vote. It's something that I think people should gather in different townships in Michigan, just like someone else was saying for lawsuits, for you individually to be prepared to have a lot of pressure put on you and or your family, wherever you have a vulnerability. That's how things are done right now. We're in a whole different world as far as decency and people caring about their communities and doing the right thing. It's like the oil companies who would go wherever they could and leave the toxic waste there. So when there aren't appropriate regulations, which I don't think there are for these data centers at all, and there are no appropriate regulations for internet use, they're getting way ahead of themselves because they have so much influence. So please consider that and consider getting together with other people who are also making decisions as you are in our state so you can be safe from the pressure that I think you're going to feel very strongly.
For your comment.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kate Gallup. I'm from Cedar in Leelanau County. I'm running for state senate, and I was reached out to by voters that asked me to come because they're very worried about data centers. And it's one of the big topics on the mind of people of District 37. This district runs from Leelanau County through all of Grand Traverse up to Sault Ste. Marie. And I've had many people reach out. A school that's across from the Bitcoin mining operation in up near Sault Ste. Marie, that the noise from that is over 80 decibels and is ruining the education of kids there. I've been to the meeting for No Data Center Charlevoix, where people are worried about not just the data center going in, but if they'll reopen a nuclear reactor and how that will be affecting their community. And so I appreciate you taking the time and all the work you're doing to figure this out, because I've been going to other townships and it's a lot of work trying to figure this out and how to navigate it, especially when you're seeing places like Saline who have voted against data centers and then were bullied into accepting it. Time and time again, America invests in business, provides tax breaks, public lands, and accepts environmental and energy risks, allowing private interests to get rich while fleecing taxpayers and the everyday person. It is not right to have socialized costs and private profit. Communities bear environmental damage, noise, water loss, contamination, rate increases, visual blight, transmission lines through neighborhoods. And a lot of these companies that we're seeing across the U.S. are lying to commissions, to townships, to counties about what they're going to do. And this even happened up in near Sault Ste. Marie, where they said, oh, this is going to be a storage unit. That wasn't a hyperscale data center. That was a small scale one. But they said it's a storage unit and it's actually industrial process. So we're seeing from a lot of these companies untruthfulness. And so moving forward, I just really appreciate you taking the time to listen to all your constituents and the concerns, thinking about moratorium or really, really stringent regulation that basically results in a ban, because so far no community has really seen a benefit from it, even though there's these promises of what it could do for communities. They're breaking rules on water. Even when they have closed loop, there's the potential for them to just dump that water that's filled with anti-corrosives. There's issues with the energy needs and what they say they will provide, and battery technology that they say they'll provide that gets delayed. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to all this and have a moratorium and strong, strong regulation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Mariah Cavender. I live on Veterans Drive. I don't think a moratorium's enough. I think an outright ban needs to happen. Our slogan in Michigan is Pure Michigan. Nothing that data centers do is pure. They damage everything around them. The environment, the water sources. There's nothing. And we can see this. Turn on your screens and look at what people are posting from where they live. The water, not even having enough water pressure to do dishes, to do laundry, to wash. We're a tourist trap. Sorry, that's what we are. We thrive on tourist dollars. What tourist wants to come here and hear a data center? Who wants to come to disgusting, mucky water that has been run through a data center? Who wants to live in an area where nature is being driven away, that people come so far away from to come see, and just gets, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm not a great public speaker. I'm not. Thanks. Yay, thank you for the cheering. I can speak for myself and probably everyone in here that we all agree a ban needs to happen. Find ways to make it so they cannot weasel their way in here. Y'all work for us, and we're saying no. We don't want a moratorium. We want an outright ban. It's enough to put it there, but please, we want to keep our land safe, our water pure. Pure Michigan for our kids. I have 2 kids. We love to go hiking. The area that's proposed for this area is where we go hiking the most. I don't want to lose that. I don't want my children's future to lose the beauty that I traveled. I used to live in Sheboygan, and I moved here. And I loved coming to Traverse City. It was the highlight for us to once a year come to Traverse City. And that's the highlight for a lot of our tourism. But no one wants to hear a data center. No one wants to see all that pollution. And no one wants to see everything get affected by that. Restaurant costs will rise, along with anything that has to deal with electricity. Everything will rise. And it's nothing that we can do. We have to ask you to please put this in place, and please put, I'm so sorry, the regulations in place to keep us safe and to keep Michigan pure for the coming future generations.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Caitlin McClendon. I live at 2076 Woodside Trail Court. And I'm not going to waste more time on explaining why data centers are harmful both to the environment and to the economy. Everyone here is well aware of the data. So instead, I'm going to focus on the adoption of the agenda item, the moratorium, to review and amend policy, and I also encourage the Commission to take action sooner rather than later for this. As everyone is aware, a lot of cities are getting a bit blindsided right now. We've got a lot of developers coming in at an accelerated pace, so I appreciate that the Commission is willing to take a proactive approach. Some of the recommendations that I have are for the moratorium and policy amendment would be to conduct current reviews to assess grid and water system capacities, as well as requiring data centers, if considered, to report monthly and quarterly water consumption reports and to establish facility-specific usage limits. as well as mandating that data centers source a percentage of electricity from renewable sources. This would shift the environmental cost burden from the grid to the operator. In addition, outright prohibiting or at least limiting evaporative cooling and or requiring the lowest impact wastewater systems. Again, this would be based on a series of studies that need to be provided. Besides that, an example of this would be Limerick Township in Pennsylvania. They actually enforce this through zoning overlay districts with detailed water use standards. As far as other amendments, this would be transparency requirements and anti-NDA provisions, banning non-disclosure agreements that prevent utilities from publicly disclosing data center energy and water usage. An example of this would be Georgia's Senate Bill 421. Just for a point of reference, if the commission is looking for guidance. This transparency would enable continuous community oversight and creates pressure for operational improvements. Besides that, I just encourage us to keep the legislative momentum going. Over 200 bills addressing data centers were introduced in 2025 alone, and this momentum is expected to continue through 2026. At least 30 proposed bills across 13 states specifically target water use. While most state-level moratorium bills faced resistance, at least dozens of municipalities have also moved ahead with local construction pauses and regulations. If there is anything currently upcoming, I do encourage the commission to follow suit. As of right now, reviewing what we currently have, because the current policy has a lot of loopholes, reviewing for any vague wording as well. To best assist the community in doing the right thing and conserving our beautiful state. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name's Kevin Summers, 3785 Brook Drive, Garfield Township, Pigtown, Brookside. I really respect John as a planner, and I was really happy to see him proactively bring this to the Planning Commission and to the Township Commission. But I did read Planning Department Report 2026-93, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit because all I saw in that report was examples of regulation, right? How you could regulate a data center, not how you could ban or have a moratorium on a data center. And if anybody knows the limits or accepts the limits of government, I know some of you, and I know that you accept the limits of government, and you understand that government can't do everything. And we could write a beautiful regulation of data centers, but I don't think Garfield Township has the technical ability to enforce it. I mean, we have a great lighting ordinance. And everybody that should read Section 517, right? It's really good. But we also have the Wendy's. Look at Wendy's at night. That is a violation of lighting ordinance, right? Look at the Great Wolf Lodge parking lot at night. I live down a hill from that. We don't have the ability to even regulate and enforce outdoor lighting. What makes you think that we can regulate a data center?
Hi, I'm Judy Childs. I live on English Woods Drive in East Bay Township. The regulation thing the gentleman ahead of me spoke about is where I'm going, and looking at the shape of our country, and not only regulations are being shot down, but laws are being shot down. And so I'm really, really concerned about constructing cohesive regulations for a data center, because I think that it could just be shut down. So thanks to the man ahead of me. Here's my one sentence from my research today. Left unregulated, Michigan could end up paying to host facilities that provide little in return to communities that bear their impacts. So shut it down. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, good evening. My name is Emily Cashel. I'm at 715 Webster. Thank you so much for acting in service to our community. I can't imagine the position you're in with all this energy coming at you. It's very, very vibrant in here. And it's because we want to protect and preserve the life force of our community. The data centers are a disaster. It's a wildfire. And we're hoping and praying that gasoline's not thrown on this issue, that we have a right to use our voice of how we would like to have our land respected for future generations to come. So I really see a positive outcome for us. I believe that you're all going to make the right decision and move forward with this moratorium in the best way to preserve the integrity of our land for the future. So I'm so grateful that you'd hear from us, and we'll be watching. It's a historical moment in time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your allowing me to speak today. My name is Christian Tugas. I live down in Wexford County. I used to live in this area, but my wife and I bought a farm down there. And I just recently heard about this meeting. I literally flew in today, got home, and I felt it was important to be here because I have kind of a unique perspective that I wanted to share with all of you. And that is that for a living, I fly a bunch of rich people around, billionaires. In fact, CEOs of Fortune 8 companies and whatnot. I've been doing this for a very long time, and what I'd like to share today is just what I call my 35,000 foot view. And that is that at the end of the day, we're talking about data centers. I'm going to ask some questions here. What are they really for? Okay, we're for what? AI, right? Okay, or we're for data processing or whatever. But what is that for at the end of the day? But to replace humans. And I won't throw a particular CEO under the bus, but this particular person told me on a flight after I flew them back from Davos that in the future we will own nothing and we'll like it. And so my point is that there's this perception, tech bros, whatever you want to call them, and forgive me if anybody out here has already talked about this stuff, that at the end of the day there's like this two-tiered system in America, and that's kind of a disgusting thing. Because these people will literally not even say thank you to their surgeon, aka their pilot that flies them on an airplane. And I'm kind of getting tired of it. And then when I hear this AI discussion, it affects me down in Wexford County. You know how many times my wife and I have been literally harassed by these people to put in solar farms? To the point where literally my wife, thank God she's friends with the sheriff's wife, we said, we're going to have to call the sheriff. I mean, how many times does a date tell you, no, I don't want to go to prom with you? Before you stop asking, and that's the thing. And I said, do I have buried gold under my property? Like, what is it? They want these solar farms down there so they can come to find out the data center is probably my guess. And I just, there's the environmental impact, there's other thing, but at the end of the day, here's my point, is that people have to work, they have to have a job, and we as a country have to stand up and say, you know what, every person is valuable. Let's stop trying to replace people with computers. They have plans to get rid of a pilot in the cockpit to save money. They want the captain to sit on a toilet. I'm not kidding you, this is a design by Boeing. They want him to sit on a toilet with heart monitors hooked up. Now, does anybody in here want to fly on an airplane like that? That's my point. At what point do we say humans are more valuable than technology and all that stuff and money at the end of the day? It's quality, people. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. I had to come down here and share it. I'm tired of the whole, them bugging us about, putting solar panels on our 85 acres certified organic farm. Like this, I moved up here for a reason, and that was for the beauty of nature and for wonderful people that also embrace that. So thank you for your time, consideration. I hope it helps you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Hello, I'm David Petrov. My house is in Interlaken, which is part of Green Lake Township, and I didn't even have to speak there, but they went ahead and did put a moratorium in Green Lake just a couple weeks ago, so they're ahead of us on that. And that's one of the things that we can do to kind of get ahead of some things here, and that's the thing we're trying to do, is because we need to look into the future, okay? And we judge the future by things that have happened in the past. And trying to do a ban and stuff like that, it sounds simple, but it's not, okay? I mean, I wish we could do bans and stuff like that, but if you set a ban, what would it be on? Using too much water or something like that? Well, we've had troubles with Nestle down in downstate when they started, tapping all the water. We have problems up here with, or no consideration for the hotel here on the east side here that uses the regular water that's coming out of your tap here to air condition the building. So, would you ban those also? I mean, it's just other things that it would be part of. The same thing with the electricity. The biggest users of electricity are usually get a tax or a rate reduction, okay? I pay like 12 cents per kilowatt hour. If Sarah Lee or somebody like that probably pays about 6 cents per kilowatt hour. That would happen here when you got somebody who's even bigger user and stuff like that. One of the things they did with Green Lake to try and, I don't know if they were trying to be against the solar panels or whatever else, but they put in regulations in terms of you have to have bonding for the future, for the cleanup. Okay, so when something like this here is no longer going to be used, you have to have money set aside. Now that cost them, okay? That cost you up front. You have to put that money, in. And so something of this nature probably would have to set aside $1 billion because we don't know what it's going to cost, and the cost would include things like, what did we do to the water? Somebody's going to have to fix it. I used to live downstate close to Oxford, Michigan, and this was in the early 90s. They had a problem because of the development, and just as a different kind of development, but that was the subdivisions were growing and they were using more and more water. They ended up putting 3 major wells in that area there to supply water. Well, then they found out, because of a little process of different things, that, two of the wells had contaminations. And that was because the aquifer use a lot of water. You're drawing in more and more and more
Thank you.
things from where else. So anyway, thank you.
My name is Stephanie Liss. I live up on Leisure Lane up in Kings Court. I'm coming up here because my 18-year-old graduated from Greenspire last year. And where you're proposing this is right down from their school. Do y'all know what their school mascot is? It's the sturgeon. Do you know that they raise sturgeon in the school to release in the Boardman River in a sacred ceremony every year? I want you all to think about this. I'm 52 today. You're all around my age. We need to work for the future. Are you for machines? Are you for animals and nature and humanity and the future of our children and our grandchildren and all those who come after us? If we don't preserve this, what will we have? The AI wants to take over making art and music and everything. What are we going to do? Twiddle our thumbs like in the movie WALL-E and shovel fries in our mouth? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Dirk Lindley. I live right in those apartments right over there. I was born and raised here, 29 years. I left for 2 years to go live in Lansing, and I came back because I could not live without this beautiful community. The woman behind me talked about the sturgeons. My mother works at that Montessori school. She's a part of that. She leaves over the summer every single day to go feed that fish if it's still there, over spring break, over everything else. It's a part of our community to, it's important for our community to not take for granted the beauty that is around us. Everybody has already kind of spoken about those necessary things, but I can't help but notice that nobody's really touched on part of the evaporation circuits. Water evaporates at like 100 degrees, and with all these across the country, I can't help but think that that's part of the reason why the temperature continues to go up as spiking as it is. I can't help but think that the data centers that are everywhere is a part of the reason that there's a drought across our country right now. Michigan is one of the few states that is not affected by that drought, and we know it is because of our lakes. I just think that I appreciate the hesitance and the desire to want to talk about it more and to put more regulations in place. But honestly, it's a firm no AI stance from me. I can't really put it any other way. A lot of people have been here before me and have put it in much better terms, but I couldn't be here and not say something about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Nick Pichot. I live in Honor, but I just signed a lease for my business here on South Boardman Lake. I just want to speak to the nature of a moratorium. The data center piece I have passion about, no doubt, and I support the voices that have already been shared. But just very basically, a moratorium is taking a time out in a time of crisis. You know, it's just like slowing things down. So my work is in mental health. And I will tell you, when individuals come see me, they make a lot of poor decisions when they're in crisis, if they don't slow down. It's when they make regrettable decisions or decisions that they haven't thought all the way through. They haven't consulted resources. They've acted out of fear or persuasion. They're just not steady. You know, their feet aren't on the ground. And so a moratorium is just that, regardless of what the crisis is. We know what the crisis is. I'd like my children to be able to live a little bit longer. Their children to live. We know what the crisis is. And we know that anything that's moving fast is a crisis in the making. Think about your own life. Anything that's gone fast, you know it's a crisis. A fire burns fast. Things, traffic accidents, people are going fast. This is too fast. So all we're asking tonight is like, slow it down. Take a time out. Act with groundedness. Take some pace. That's what I'm asking on behalf of this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Becky Geyer, 5376 Scout Camp Road. I feel for you guys. I don't know what you need, but we're here to help you. I'm not very good at that, but I can help organize something. If you need specialists, there must be specialists in here that can help you, because you must be going like, I don't even know where to start sometimes, right? This is not really your wheelhouse, all of this new things. But there's so much in this room and this community that have so much more knowledge and experience that we can come together and help you just for free, right? Because we want to do that. So I would encourage anyone who's here or knows someone that has abilities in law and all that, whatever, any aspect, let's offer. Call and offer what we can give to help do this, to help you do your jobs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name's Brandon. I've resided here in Garfield Township for 9 years and kind of wanted to throw out a little bit different perspective on all of the AI data centers and a consumer kind of perspective. I'm also a CNC machinist, and I dabble at home with electronics and building computers and all of those industries. I see you have a camera that takes SD cards, you got a laptop, we got TVs in here, projectors. All of this technology takes to the core the same stuff that is all being shipped to these data centers and basically held hostage. And anything in the consumer environment is going to skyrocket substantially. I don't know if you tried to buy an SD card recently for your camera, but they've gone up like 300%. It's insane. RAM, unattainable. Can't even get RAM. It's just insane. So please take this into consideration in a much different perspective too, because I'm sure we all have cell phones too. Like calculators, a basic calculator, like all of this uses the same kind of technology. The vehicles that we're buying today, it's insane. And it's all going to get substantially more expensive as data centers keep coming up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. Matthew Scheck, 9th Street, Traverse City, Michigan. I want to thank you for having this forum here tonight. Since I formerly served on the Traverse City Human Rights Commission, and I served on Mayfield Township Zoning Board for 3 terms. There's been many people that spoke this evening and reiterated basically the same thing. Our environment should be protected. Our environment is important. It's absolutely important. But there is one thing that hasn't been covered, and that is what else is important besides our environment, and it is our freedom. So how does the data centers violate that freedom anyway? Well, we've had a few people touch on data centers, but data centers are storing data on what? Us? Will it be the flock camera stuff? Will it be something in the future? We all know the economy, with inflation the way it is and the value of the dollar going down, and banks are even talking about, my local credit union doesn't want a central bank digital currency, but our Congress voted on that issue in the last 2 years. Thankfully, they turned that down. So what will the data centers do if the worst of the worst comes about and our economy collapses? To the rescue, data centers. We can preserve your wealth, but we'll call it something else. The only thing is that there won't be any visible currency. It'll just be your algorithm, okay? I'm only giving you an example. It's not even an example. It's basically my understanding of what extrapolations can come out of all of these things today, like data centers, and some of them have been pretty big. Why do they need such big data centers? They're wiping out forests, they're wiping out farmland. I'm just reiterating what people are saying about the environment, but my God, you have to understand that these things are the people. Data centers, we should start asking, what data is going into it? Is it about us? Obviously, yes, it will be about us. But you know, we have a little bit of a system of that today, because a friend of mine who worked in government intelligence told me that he has a favorite restaurant and he signs up for it. And he could be driving within 2 miles of that restaurant and his phone will go off giving him the menu of the day. But you know what? That's okay. He volunteered to do that. Data centers are not voluntary. There is one country in the world that probably has more data centers than all the other countries combined. China. Why would they need data centers? Well, they have 250 million facial recognition cameras there. So I can close with that. I was going to read you the Fourth Amendment.
Thank you for your comment.
But you'll understand that if it comes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shannon DeBryan. I am your neighbor at 6316 Hawksview in Peninsula Township. Thank you for hearing my comments. One aspect of this problem that ironically you have an opportunity to serve humanity in a really big way from a very small place, and that is that we're in an artificial arms race with AI. The 3 frontier AI labs, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google DeepMind, have all recently indicated they wish that it would slow down, because they understand, even the people creating this technology understand that it's not being rolled out in a safe way. They understand that they're about 18 months away from self-recursive improvement of AI that will not be aligned with human values, because they haven't had enough time to study the alignment problem. The only, since our national leaders aren't in a cooperative position to help us with global cooperation on having a pause to the unsafe rollout of AI, the only opportunity that we have is limiting compute. And limiting compute is the opportunity that you have by passing the moratorium, which I support, and by moving forward to look at what other further legislation you can create in order to create a ban. Because it's the physical compute is the only limiting factor on the escalation of self-recursive improving AI. And you have, ironically, a really important role that you could play. It's not going to, sort of limiting the data center in our township isn't going to cause the world to collapse and AI goes away, but it's one voice that we can have. No one is coming to save us from this technology, but we have an opportunity to raise our hand to say no by enacting the moratorium and by seeking ways to ban it entirely from our township. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Emily Dodge. I live at 1794 Carlisle Road, Traverse City, Michigan. Do you need my zip? Okay. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you guys for all of your time and for listening to us today. We really appreciate it. Everyone has covered everything so well tonight. I so appreciate everyone coming. One thing that I just wanted to note that I just hadn't heard some stats on yet is the amount of health reports that have already been submitted to Erin Brockovich and what she's doing right now on collecting information on health statistics. So there were over 10,000 reports made to her new organization within a matter of days or weeks that were all negative reports from living by a data center, and over half of those were negative health impacts that they were experiencing. So that's 10,000 reports already. There was also another study done. People say that maybe it might not have been the most credible source, although I would question who was saying it was not a credible source. But they did do a study around, in one town that had a data center, they did a study around all of the wells, and something like, 90% of them, I think, had really high nitrate levels, and that led to a lot of miscarriages in their area. So I just wanted to inform you all that there's been a lot of health reports made by people who are living around data centers. So maybe that's something that you guys can look into when you're making your decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment.
Mitchell Treadwell, 620 West 7th Street, Traverse City, Michigan. Yes, I am a candidate on your ballot for the 37th State Senate District, but I am here today as a city commissioner, which is my current job. The reason that the proposal has been in its suggested location along the Cass Road industrial area is because it is close, immediately adjacent to a power substation, a TC Light and Power substation, a city-owned public utility. We need assurances that whatever industrial use goes in here will not raise rates for TC Light and Power customers, nor that it will cause outages, fluctuations, or inconsistency in the rest of the grid. In addition, any water consumption or discharge from this site will use city water. It will go through the city wastewater treatment plant. We need to know that it will be stuff that we can treat. We need to know that it won't be putting an undue tax on our water main system. It's not just this industrial park, but also the one further south, or in Chum's Corners, or south of Hammond Road. All of those use city water and sewer. We need assurances that it won't unduly stress the system, the already precious infrastructure that we have, and that these industrial uses are at their proper location, the right size, and in keeping with the character of our community. I'm also a planning commissioner. I recognize that it can be difficult to write ordinances, as we already heard from Mr. Summers, about things like lighting. But we also need firm backstops for water, air, noise pollution. These can be enforced, but they require the capacity to do so. Last summer, the industrial site immediately to the north of this proposed location, the Sara Lee factory, went for weeks with unbearable smells that could be detected a mile and a half away, all the way across Bourbon Lake. without the resources to properly enforce ordinances and protections already on the books? Are we really in a position to fairly allow more industrial uses? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Bree Dalzell. I live at 1746 West River Road. Lived here my entire life, born and raised in Suttons Bay, now in Traverse City. Local nurse practitioner as well. From a healthcare perspective, we are, well, first and foremost, concerned about what these data centers are doing to local communities, but also I work in an industry that is constantly short-staffed. And so I do have to question, when we talk about what data centers are going to bring to our community, what does that look like for our workforce? What is our workforce housing situation? And then again, the infrastructure. So I do support the moratorium. However, a ban, I think, is what definitely needs to happen. But when looking at this and when stepping back, I do encourage you to look at our workforce, how we can support a data center if you were to approve something like that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Pujulani, Riley Indigenous, Waweti and Donjaba. My name is Riley McKay. I'm native. This is Anishinaabe land. I'm a resident within the 1836 Treaty of Washington. AI regurgitates information that it gets from online. As you know, online there's a lot of misinformation. Everyone here talks about it from an environmental perspective. I went to school for environmental sustainability and political science, but I'm looking at this from a cultural perspective. These AI centers are historically being built on indigenous land. These are the ancestors of my grandparents. Would you really build an AI data center on the graves of your ancestors? Would you? No. It's horrible. It's wrong. Pamapi, miigwech.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who'd like to step up and make a comment at this time? Sir, we've already heard from you, sir. There'll be other opportunities later in the meeting for you to comment.
It's an important subject.
Sir, again, you've already spoken during this public comment period. If you look at the agenda.
Sir, I respect the uniform and I respect the office.
However, in old business,
however, sir,
we are going to be discussing the zoning ordinance proposed amendment, moratorium procedure. There is a public hearing where, within the context of the procedures that are established for this
I
meeting,
learned a lot as a newsman.
You can speak
what
again.
Officials will say.
Sit down, please.
And they often say a lot of words that don't mean much, such as moratorium. Will you all remain? Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken who would like to step up and speak? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is James. It's so nice to meet you. I'm a nurse over at the Munson, and I don't live but just a stone's throw away from here. This means a lot to me. I really do not want any sort of data centers here. What are some of the things that we really love, truly, about living here in Traverse City, Michigan? We love the clean water, fresh water, clean air. I mean, data centers have really been proven to really be a detriment to our community, our society. It's really something that we want you to take very seriously going forward and just make this decision with your representatives in mind. So please, thank you very much, and just listen to our words. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi there, Douglas Lemcool, 12864 South Regal, technically Greligville. I just wanted to say as far as there being no proposed site and anything like that, there were whispers of a data center coming in, and now I hear about a township meeting about a moratorium. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you for being proactive. Thank you for taking the steps necessary. I know there's been a lot of people here who have wanted to see more action, to do more, but this is the first step. This is how we come together, how we say no. So I just wanted to say thank you for being proactive in this. I mean, there's nothing proposed, and yet you're here saying, let's keep it out, let's not allow it. And I think, just wanted to say thank you guys.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, I'm Thomas Remsperger of 883 Crestwood Lane. I agree with the prior speaker in that this is moving too fast, and this is so complex. When I hear all the different factors, it's so complex. It's best not to act until you know a lot more. That's my personal thing. So I would say moratorium until we know a hell of a lot more. That's all I got.
Thank you for your comment. If there's no one else who'd like to step up and make public comment, we'll go ahead and close this public comment period. As I said, there are others during this meeting. Okay, we're closed. Let's move on with our review and approval of the agenda and statement of any conflicts of interest.
I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
We have a motion and support for review and approval of the agenda. I will interject one comment. As I have in the past, I will be recusing myself from item C in old business regarding the old Olson PUD major amendment for the wireless communication tower, as I live next door. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. And with that, we'll move on to a review of our minutes from our June 24th, 2026 meeting.
Make a motion the minutes be accepted.
Support.
We have a motion by Fudge with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. All right. We have a great deal of correspondence related to data centers. Is there any comment that Steve or John that you have regarding that?
So you have the comments that were in the packet. So those are ones that we received through the website. Then on your desks are comments that we received both on the website and through emails. So there will be additional ones, but we just wanted to make sure that you had those for what we have as of roughly around 4 o'clock this afternoon. So we anticipate a lot more.
Surely. Thank you. All right.
That's it.
Well, do we have any reports from the Township Board, Molly?
No, no meeting.
No meeting. Zoning Board of Appeals.
I don't believe they had a meeting. John Racine would be the person commenting, but
they
they
didn't.
had a meeting.
And I know that the Parks and Recreation Commission has not met since our last meeting here either.
August will be the next one. Yep.
And I don't believe the Joint Planning Commission has met either.
No, the next scheduled one is July 15th.
All right. Any staff reports?
Just what's in the packet is our monthly report that's presented to the Planning Commission, and we also forward that on to the Township Board, but that's all we have for this evening.
All right. Thank you for that. And with that, we'll move on to our first item of old business, item A, PD 2026-97, Jones R1 rezoning public hearing.
So when we set the agenda, and these were the two public hearings, we put this one first. We probably could have put the moratorium first. But
any thoughts or anything you want to say before we open it up to the public hearing for this issue?
Just as a extremely brief overview, because I know that there are lots on this agenda. I also don't know if the applicant is here. If you happen to have any questions, but as a recap, it's a property on Northwest Silver Lake Road, currently zoned as rural residential. The owner is looking at doing some splits, ultimately from 1 into 3. This portion is too small for RR. It happens to be the space available just to the north of the house. But it would meet the dimensions for the R1 district. It borders an R1 site to the north and across the street, and there's a lot more R1 further south. There's also RR in this area, so they both kind of work together. But since they can't create a parcel that doesn't meet the minimum dimensions, they put an application to rezone this portion with the goal of creating a parcel later. Brief executive summary.
Any thoughts or concerns from the commission before we open it up for public comment? All right.
I had one. I'm not sure if they ever plan on divisioning out parcel C into smaller lots or not. I was wondering, this is a comment for staff or a question for staff, if they do divide it, what's the maximum amount of lots they could get in 5.5 acres, and if they ever if subdivision is ever allowed in it. Again, potential question.
Yeah.
Do they need 2 access points onto Silver Lake?
Yeah, that's a good question. Based on the dimensions of rural residential, it'd be a minimum lot size of 1 acre. If they applied for rezoning something else in the future, this only concerns what is shown as parcel A, so they would do that in the future if they desired, or if they kept it as rural residential. There's also the Land Division Act would allow a certain amount of divisions on that perspective. So there would be kind of a few factors that
And
look
they
at
would
it.
need to come back for that division.
Correct. Yeah.
That was my only concern.
Okay.
All right.
Any other, Molly?
Yeah, can you lay out the reasoning for parcel A being 1/2 acre?
If you'd
Can I
like to
answer
speak
that
to it,
question?
yep.
Yeah. To get a full acre.
I'm sorry, if you could just state your name and address.
Oh,
And you are the
James-
applicant?
James Jones, I'm the applicant, the owner of that property. Because the prior owner put a horse barn in that area, it would encroach on that. So we would be forced to sacrifice more property that could be used for farming or other purposes in the back. There's nothing in the back, we use it for farming and things like that. So if I can do that smaller division, it keeps me from encroaching on land that can be used for other purposes and still build a house. There's another R1 right next door that's already been, something similar has been done, so it's kind of a precedent we were hoping.
Well, since you're up there, what's the access back to parcel C from Silver Lake Road?
It would be on the south, it's on the south side of the property. I believe it shows a easement.
An easement?
Yep.
Yeah, to the,
Yeah.
yeah, you
48
see
foot wide
to the,
easement. Yeah.
so that would be on the bottom portion of that survey. There's the easement, and there's already a 2-track road that leads into there, but, so, that's already, yeah, been established. And right now, we would only be allowed to do one more split if we wanted to later with current law and the, what we're allowed to do on splits. So there's no, there's no desire right now to do anything to parcel C.
Mhm.
We'd just like to be able to put a house in there for my son and not encroach on that little horse barn that you see there outbuilding.
Anything else, Molly?
No.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add, sir?
No.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and open it up for public hearing. Again, this is a public hearing regarding the rezone of 1361 Northwest Silver Lake Road. Anyone who has any comments or concerns regarding this proposed rezone, feel free to step forward to the podium, state your name and address, and be heard. Seeing no one rushing to the podium, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we will move on to further discussion from the Planning Commission members. no one has any specific concerns, if anyone, I believe that the staff has provided us with a recommended action, which would allow them to proceed with a finding of fact.
Sure, I'll make the motion to direct staff to draft findings of fact for review at the August 12th, 2026 regular meeting of the Planning Commission for application Z 2026-03, submitted by James C. Jones to rezone a portion of parcel 05031, no, let me start that over, 05030 02500 at 1361 West Silver Lake Road from its current zoning of RR Rural Residential District to the R1 One Family Residential District.
Support.
We have a motion from Augustinelli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes.
Thank you. Store no more than 1 gigabyte of memory or data in my location.
Thank you.
Thank you. No time.
All right, and next on our agenda, we have a proposed item PD 2026-98, zoning ordinance proposed amendment, moratorium procedure, and we have a public hearing for that as part of this item of business. I will ask you guys to just kind of open it up, but first I just wanted to comment. I do very much appreciate all of the public comment that was made by the public. So far in this meeting, there is, as you are hopefully all aware, an opportunity to speak specifically to the moratorium proposed amendment. If you have already made a comment and feel compelled to step up to the podium, I'm not going to stop you from doing so. I would ask that you just make one comment. I would also ask that you recognize that this commission, many of these members have served, in fact, I think all of these members have served well, I'm sorry, Ben, you just joined us not too long ago. There have been a number of members who have served on this commission for a long period of time. We have new members. This commission's very engaged. I would love to see this kind of crowd in the middle of February when we are going over the boring, mundane aspects, not for those two folks over there. That's really exciting.
It's all exciting, of course.
It's all very exciting.
Yeah.
But the rules are made in this room and by these folks, and we are all very much in favor of the health and well-being of this community. And I think all very much looking forward to the opportunity to engage in a process to establish rules that are appropriate for data centers in our community. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. And I'm going to be a little bit uncouth perhaps before we open up the public hearing, just so folks know what this commission is thinking at this time, because the only thing that's before us is a moratorium. We're not considering all the details of water usage, and that's to come. So I hope to see you all back for that.
Can I clear it up? This is a procedural item in the ordinance.
Yeah.
To tell the township how to act in the case that we have to put a moratorium in place, not only for data centers, for other items that may come up.
Yes, which is to say we're upping our game with regard to anything that might come along in the future. So that said, we'll do a straw poll just so all you know that you don't need to get up, whether you need to get up and influence the decision of this body. So with that, gentlemen.
Sure. So what's being presented here this evening is inserting a new section into the township zoning ordinance to allow a moratorium to be established by resolution of the township board. This is the planning commission making a recommendation for language for the amendment to the township board. The language itself, which we're calling section 409, so we'll go into article 4, which is our procedure section of the zoning ordinance, was drafted by Foster Swift, our legal counsel. They're the ones that put this together. And there are a lot of communities that do moratoriums. The tricky part about moratoriums is that all the power for planning and zoning is gained through either the Planning Enabling Act or the Zoning Enabling Act that allows cities, townships, and villages to create master plans, to create zoning ordinances. Moratoriums are never mentioned in any of those statutes. So it's something that's really been established through case law throughout Michigan. So the attorney is advising that we amend the ordinance to provide this section so that it's very clear that there's a basis for when the board does want to enact a moratorium by resolution. So that's why we're going through this procedure and not running straight for a moratorium to be established by the township board. Just for information, should this move forward tonight, the next step would be, we would have to go to the township board for another public hearing, because all amendments to the zoning ordinance require 2 public hearings, one from the Planning Commission, and then after its recommendation, it goes to the township board. Following the second public hearing at the township board can take action, and then it will be published, and once it's published, and then it becomes enacted as part of the zoning ordinance. So your consideration tonight is to conduct the public hearing and consider a recommendation to the township board.
So then, John, to be clear then, this recommended text amendment regarding moratoriums in general would be subject to, and I'm kind of repeating it for everybody, would be subject to another public hearing at the township trustees meeting. And were they to approve a recommendation that we might make, then after a period of time, they could indeed proceed with appropriately enacting a moratorium regarding data centers, which is the focus of many people's concern.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And that would likely happen on a timeline.
So if it, let's say if it moves forward tonight, the township board, their next meeting is this coming Tuesday on July 14th, so that could be an introduction. State law requires public hearing notice, so the earliest that it could be done because of the 15-day requirement would be August 11th, would be the public hearing and action by the township board. Could be enacted following the publication, which would be probably the following weekend. And then, so on August 25th, then that would allow the township board at that meeting to be, actually consider the resolution to put into place. So it'd probably be at the end of August before the moratorium would be established.
And at that time, they could put in place a resolution regarding moratoriums on doghouses.
Any issue that's related
With
to the zoning.
appropriate findings, yes.
It's all, anything that's typically related to the zoning ordinance.
Molly?
Generally speaking, that recommendation would come from this board, to the town board.
Okay.
The town board's not likely to just enact something without a recommendation from here.
So then we would likely, on Molly's suggestion, we would likely need to, at a coming meeting, make a recommendation to the town board to actually engage in a moratorium. Or would you look into I understand Molly's concern from a procedural perspective of the trustees, but if you could look into the procedural concerns, we're meeting again in 2 weeks, and that might be timely enough.
Right. So I think we can kind of follow that in anticipation. I mean, we know what we're trying to do in terms of enacting it as soon as possible, so I think that would be something that, would be the typical process to do that. Also, I think it has to be published as well as the resolution that the board would enact as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, are we ready to open it for a public hearing? Before we do so, does anybody have any specific concerns they would like to voice regarding why we might not consider enacting this? Or making this recommendation regarding a moratorium policy? All right, we'll open it up to a public hearing, and feel free to step forward and make your comments. Again, we're going to try and limit it, not try, but I'd like to limit it to 3 minutes and 1 opportunity for every speaker. So please go ahead and step forward and be heard.
Dave Friedman again. I just want to say thank you for moving forward with this, and I hope it gets an affirmative and moves forward as quickly as humanly possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else who'd like to step up and make a comment? Thank you.
And thank you, sir. Now, even though there's some kind of emotional outbursts at times, I respect the uniform. I very much do. And as a newsman, I've learned a lot about what the uniform says, what people in the uniform say. And you guys are talking about a moratorium today. And I'm wondering if you really want to do this. Is this truly your intention? Mr. DeGood?
Mm-hmm.
Is it truly your intention?
I'm sorry, it's not a question and answer. You're welcome to make public comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that you guys say that. Township boards say that, but we have to be able to trust you. So my question merits an answer. You see, sir, I've read the Open Meetings Act, and it does not prohibit township boards from responding.
Sir, this is a planning commission and not township board.
And you are officials. You are elected.
We are not elected.
No, we're not
We are
elected.
appointed by the township board.
You ought to be elected because you represent us. Now, I'm also kind of wondering why you look at your residents the way you do. Mr. DeGood, you look, and look, I respect the uniform, okay? You look very arrogant when you look at your residents. I don't think it's right that the people that are supposed to represent you look at you the way you do. They do.
You're reading way too much into it, young fella.
I've watched this for 3 years. I've been in this profession for a long time.
What are you, an analyst?
I'm a journalist.
Show us.
I'm really wondering if this moratorium is an idea to bide your time and speak with whoever you're wanting to speak with, to stall time and make a new plan. It's reasonable because after a moratorium expires, townships and tech companies and utility companies and whatever economic advisor have already met in other cases to figure out what to do.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Cushell. Looking at that moratorium, I was reading it, and that bottom portion that said something to the effect of like, it has to be decided whether or not the extension is going to be available. Is that when you adopt the moratorium? Like, how could you know when you're adopting the moratorium that's good for 12 months if you're going to need the extra 6-month extension? So I would never want to hold up the slowing process. Of course, I'm concerned about like stall tactics because there's just, history has seen that used in small governments, but I don't think that's the intention here. But it would be kind of great if during this adoption of the moratorium, there was some sort of freedom to even draw in a third-party lawyer to take a look at making sure that that's really solid as we move forward. So if there was a little bit of opportunity to revisit it in the future, I just don't understand that part, but that was my comment.
Thank you for your comment.
Hogan. Oh, yep. Let's applaud for that. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Mitch Disson, I'm not going to give my address again. That was probably stupid as a political candidate earlier. So all intents and purposes, I live at Costco because I basically do anyways. So, yeah, so first off, this is massively cool. Thank you, Heather, for pointing out that I am a nerd because this is what I nerd out for. I love going to these townships now because I believe in local governance overall. So I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not even a capitalist or a socialist. I'm something called a localist because I believe rebuilding the communal infrastructure is 10 times more important than anything else that we could be doing right now. So this is really cool. First off, thank you for holding this conversation and talking about this beforehand. So real quickly, again, we will be going through the science at the Traverse City Library, McGuire Room next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Just a brief snapshot of some of the lies that we keep hearing, the 5 lies. The first one is that your energy bills won't go up. So there was a massive study that just came out, Harvard Electricity Law Initiative, that examined 50 regulatory proceedings and found utilities are entering secret contracts with data center operators and shifting the cost of discounted rates onto residential customers. So this is something that we see everywhere going on right now. This is why DTE and consumers keep asking for rate hikes. So that's always a lie. Whenever they say that the rates won't go up, it's invariably the case that it will. Actually, Jerome Powell explicitly said himself, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell put it plainly during a press conference last month, in the short term, what's happening is we're building data centers everywhere, and that's actually putting pressure on all kinds of goods and services that go into building these things, so that's actually probably pushing inflation up. So that's the federal chair there. Second lie, we're bringing jobs to your community. Data centers are one of the most labor-light industries in the world. So if you know anything about the Switch plant in Grand Rapids, they promised 1,000 jobs in 2016. At the time that they were supposed to have those jobs, a few years back, there was only 26 jobs. So again, you always have to think, oh, they also promised six-figure paying jobs. None of them were six-figure paying jobs. So this is how data center developers lie. By the way, Michigan legislature decided to give them a break, and then they didn't have to pay for that cost. One big thing, too, that we should be talking about is that we've lost $90 million in revenue, tax revenue, the last few years just because of big tech data centers. So there's no good reason. This is corporate welfare. This is something that I believe everybody should get behind. Not going to get into everything here, but I guess closed loop real quickly. Closed loop systems are massively detrimental. There was a Keto study, Keto's Institute study that basically showed that these things discharge a lot of harmful pollutants. So you have your anti-corrosives, you have your PFAS, and every single time it says closed loop, no, there's an open loop system and a closed loop system. So you do have water intake and you do have water discharge. So just keep that in mind. So thank you guys, appreciate you.
Anyone else would like to step up and make a public comment?
The other Mitch again. As a planning commissioner, I appreciate you taking this step. This is something that, as we've seen, generates a lot of strong sentiments in the community, and this is one of the tools that you have at your disposal. However, I do question why it's taken some time. This isn't a new conversation, though it is an evolving one. As a planner for Traverse City, I was at the National Association of Planners Conference in Detroit back in April. I was at the Michigan Association of Planners Conference in Kalamazoo, was it? Downstate. Last fall. Yes.
Chris Kalamazoo. Yep.
Steve and John, I saw you both there. So at both sessions, there were over a dozen sessions on data centers, AI, and their proper place in planning and zoning. I didn't see if you were there. I was paying to my own sessions, but there were definitely opportunities to bring that information back. Mr. Good, you referenced wanting this crowd at some of your drier meetings in February. I've been to your meetings in February when I'm literally the last person in the room for the public.
I gave you a ride home.
Yes, you did. From that very meeting. But when data centers were early in the discussion, I referred the board to the draft language that Clark Township in Mackinac County already had that sought to proactively limit what data centers could be in terms of scope, in terms of noise, making sure that a community could head off something trying to run roughshod over its existing zoning code. Yes, things take time. In the city, we've got an ordinance that we've been working on for 6 years and still hasn't passed the planning commission. But something like this, you can move a little faster on. A moratorium is a tool in the Zoning Enabling Act, but it is a temporary tool. And if we know one thing about the firms behind these data centers is they have a lot of lawyers. They will look for any opportunity to poke holes in potential zoning regulations to accuse them of being unfair. You've had 3 data centers, much smaller than the things that have gotten a lot of attention in other parts of the country, but 3 data centers here in Garfield Township. Without clear findings of fact about what the noise, pollution, traffic, electricity, other concerns for those data centers have been, it could be hard to outright prohibit more data centers moving in. Be careful with what you do.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, everybody. It's James again. Thank you all for being here. Again, just I want to reiterate that I really don't want a data center here. We love Michigan, everything that we love. I think that this would be the antithesis of it. And just ultimately don't vote against your best interests. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi again, Heather Weiser. I just wanted to put something on your radar. So, what we're finding is that Matt Ryan of Rock Locker out of Traverse City has what he's calling a stealth company, which is basically a carbon sequestration company that has proprietary stuff that needs to be stealth. But he's after the same land that he was after for the data center, and he has listed on his website, the Rock Locker website, as like a data center consultant. So if you do see him, know that he lied to us, know that he is not an environmentalist, know that he's doing a gas flare in a residential neighborhood. He got an economic variance to be able to do that, and it got shut down for being code violated because we stood up and actually tried really hard to draw awareness to the situation, and finally somebody went and looked at his operation and said that it was outdated, and he has to shut down until he's done the necessary upgrades that were part of the original abatement that was environmental. So just know that they will lie. I said that before in my original comment when I came here, and there was only 5 people here, you know, so it is a thing, and don't trust Matt Ryan, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Karen Marco. I live on Union Street, about a mile from here, so this is freaking me out, you know. What I'm hearing is to move slow. No, move fast. Get the moratorium and move fast, because and look for laws that we have all sorts of people that are offering help that will stop them. I mean, what decimal of noise will stop it? And who else would be affected by that? So make the law on that. Don't you think we'd vote it in? We'd vote it in. Can't we vote in those laws to help you stop this? Because a moratorium is simply putting it off for later, and that's what we've done in our world all the time. We kick it down the road for the next guy, or we do a committee, and how many tax dollars and how many months later, and we still haven't fixed the problem. So there's avenues here. We can look for help as to how to actually stop this. So moratorium, yes, and then make laws to stop it. And why can't that be done? Can someone answer that? Is there a reason why we can't make laws at your level to not let a data center come in? Because the noise is too loud, or the water, whatever we find that we can use. It doesn't have to make sense, it just has to work. Is there any reason we can't do that? That's what I'm actually asking. Can anyone answer that? Can you
This
answer that?
This isn't really a Q&A. It's an opportunity for the public to make comment.
Okay, well, that's, seems pretty simple to me if you really want to do it. But I'd be afraid if I was you guys too. I would. I want to help you. You could be attacked. You could be targeted. And my point is, the longer you wait, the more opportunities these companies or whoever the powers that be that are getting in with them in the government has to target you. So let's get rid of them now, at least from here.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who'd like to step up and make a comment? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the Planning Commission. John, if I can start, actually, there were two questions that I thought warranted some additional concern regarding the language of the moratorium that one of the commenters brought up. Number one was with regard to legal counsel and the language in the proposed zoning ordinance amendment. And I believe you stated that our legal counsel did help to craft this, what we have before us.
They didn't help us, they actually crafted it for us.
Excellent. Okay.
So, and there is no provision, unlike what was mentioned, there is no provision in the Zoning Enabling Act regarding moratoriums. It's based on case law. So that's one of the delicate parts of this, and is why it's being inserted into the zoning ordinance. There are some communities that will do it by a standalone ordinance, or they will just do it by resolution alone.
Mm-hmm.
By inserting it into the actual zoning ordinance gives it greater strength, and so that's why our legal counsel is advised on that and prepared it as such. That's also why there's the time limit. A lot of moratoriums typically are only 3 to 6 months. So he's pushed it, at least initially, as a 12-month with the option to go 6 months. So it could be a total of 18 months or a year and a half. And he's doing that because at the same time, you can't just put a moratorium in perpetuity. At some point, the moratorium has to cease. And it does create some vulnerabilities if you go beyond that stage. Now, that does certainly afford you that time, so basically up to a year and a half to figure out how the approach is that the township is going to take at that time. But to go beyond that could also leave you vulnerable in terms of any lawsuits or anything like that nature.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Not at this time. I mean, I think it is the approach on all of these, anything we do within the zoning ordinance has very stringent criteria and so forth. And it's the approach on this, in terms of the timing, the reason, as you know, the Planning Commission has been studying this since January, and this is after having a joint meeting with the Township Board. This is kind of the direction we're going in, because it's also a very moving target. We want to ensure that we have not just a quick reaction to put something on the books, but we want to make sure that it is enforceable in going forward. And one of the challenges that we've seen, not necessarily related to data centers, but to other types of uses or approaches in zoning, is when you provide certain standards in terms of measurements and so forth. Those can be easily contested if you don't have the proper staff to actually do those enforcements and ensure that they are meeting a certain threshold. So if it's a number that has to be measured, how do we enforce that? And I think that's one of the challenges we look at all uses, is what is our ability to enforce something in terms of use if we do have problems with it impacting the community.
Commissioners, any thoughts or any further discussion you'd like to have?
I just have a couple of comments. One is I kind of wanted to thank staff for the speed. I know sometimes government seems really slow, but this has been a speedy process for us from the time that it was introduced to giving us learning opportunities to putting decision frameworks in front of us. I wanted to also comment that one of the things we've imagined is that any future ordinance or standards that come out of this isn't limited to data centers, because some of this kind of imagines the things that we don't know in the future. So data centers 5 years from now could be called something else, but what we're looking at is things that are heavy resource utilizers. So for those of you who are gardeners, you have plants that are heavy feeders, they need tons of fertilizing. Those are the kinds of things that we imagine that we want to put those guardrails on and limitations. And then the last thing is just a gentle reminder to myself and all of us that what drives the need for data centers is use of data. And so when we make decisions to turn off our lights when we leave a room, or turn off the water faucet when we don't need the water, or limit use of data that we don't need, we're making a good decision for our community and other communities that could be affected by this. So thank you all too for really being thoughtful on this. I'm so pleased to see such community. Somebody mentioned this is not a partisan issue. Everybody's kind of on the same page. That's rare in this day and age. So thank you for sort of validating the work that we've been doing, and we will stick with this.
Thank you, Kara. That was really well put.
Yeah, and I just want to say the moratorium that's being, or the procedure that's being considered, this is kind of like one piece to the puzzle. This might be the only thing that is being decided on tonight to forward this to the board or not. This issue is still here. That's why we want to do a moratorium on data centers. This is one piece to that puzzle. The moratorium gives time to do that. We certainly want to take advantage of anyone who has resources and energy and knowledge that can help us. As John was saying, this certain piece of the puzzle was guided by our own legal counsel, because we want any decision that we make to be legally defensible, knowing that communities have had legal challenges with this. So we want to make sure we are ahead of that. We have ability with Michigan Townships Association to talk to townships. We have our professional network of the Michigan Association of Planners. The entire last issue of the Michigan Association of Planners magazine was all about data centers and AI. So this is, and I would, again, as Chris said earlier, please keep tabs on this, keep attending, keep aware of what's going on. We want to hear from people, because ultimately the regulations that are on paper affect people's lived experiences, and hearing that back to us helps us pinpoint where do we need to make changes in those regulations so they result in better lived experiences.
Thank you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else, or would someone like to make a motion? There's recommended action that's been provided.
I'll make the motion that the proposed amendment to the Garfield Township zoning ordinance as attached to the Planning Department Report 2026-98 be recommended for adoption by the Township Board.
Support.
We have a motion by Robertson with support by Fudge. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. And again, I want to thank you all for your input tonight. There is another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. You're welcome to hang around and make a comment at that time, but we do look forward to your continued input as we engage in the consideration of this data center issue. And for that matter, the other boring stuff that we do as a zoning and planning commission. So,
If anyone wants to stick around for the other agenda items, you can see what's going on. I trust you. It's very interesting.
Next up on our agenda is PD 2026-99, Olson PUD Major Amendment Wireless Communication Tower. And this is a review of the findings of fact, and I'm going to turn it over to Kara Uli, our Deputy Chair, as I am recusing myself. Thanks, Kara.
All right, and then if I could take, I don't know if it's a quick point of privilege, but if somebody could spare a pen. I tallied all the public comments, and now my pencil has failed me, and I don't know if we had an extra one. I looked in the conference room behind as well.
Okay.
Here, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Do we need to take a break or anything? Is everybody ready to go?
Do you guys want to give me a thumbs up if we're okay to continue versus take a 5-minute break? You guys want to plug through or take a break?
Say get her done.
We can plug through, but I'm going to run for a break.
Okay. All right.
I can give a brief overview of, we
Let's
still
do
have a
it.
quorum at the desk, so. This is proposal for wireless communication tower at the back of the Olson Plaza site, approximately here. behind the building. You've seen this in a couple meetings. There was a public hearing at the last meeting. Since then, there's been some additional information provided. Applicant provided an updated plan set addressing some of the items raised at the last meeting and during the previous completeness review. So staff did an updated completeness review. There's still a couple just small-ish items. They also provided update on or some additional correspondence on communicating with Munson Medical Center. Staff also reached out to contact at Munson about the possibility of locating on that building. It appeared early on in the process that reaching an agreement was going to be a tall task. I think the sides were just far apart. And looking at that standard, which is further into the findings, it's further in the letter, but standard talks about like reaching out to owners of other facilities or other buildings looking for spaces to locate or co-locate. In this case, since they would be the only occupant, they're the only occupant of their current building that they're renting from and where that lease is ending, they would be the only occupant on Munson. They reached out because it's the tallest building in the area, but there was no, to anyone's knowledge, existing equipment there. So it seems part of the analysis of there was no opportunity in that area to co-locate on some existing building or infrastructure, which led them to this site that was proposed. So what I presented are findings of fact. The other additional piece of information that actually may affect some of the findings was getting the wetland delineation. They received a wetland delineation, which is reflected in their site plan set. They reached out to Eagle, and staff also reached out to Eagle on verifying the wetland. We explained our township's requirements in the zoning ordinance, which were just updated in the last couple of years to clarify that state of Michigan needs to verify a third-party wetland delineation. It is often, looking at some of the past reviews that Plan Commission has done, the final verification has often come as a condition of approval, considering that applicants have provided a delineation, it's getting verified. If anything shifts, it should be reflected, and if it completely changes the site plan, it would render it to come back. But if it shifts, there's often times where things might, like wetlands over time can shift a few feet. So just verifying that there is the work performed by that professional would need to be verified before any permits are issued. Is typically how that has been handled. But we did at least communicate with staff at State of Michigan Environment, Great Lakes, and NG Eagle to confirm what their process would be. So they call it a level 3 wetland identification program. So they have a system to do this. Otherwise, what is presented is the draft findings of fact. It covers 3 sections of the ordinance. The Plan Unit Development Amendment Review Procedure, just indicating that this is a major amendment, and that's why it's going to this stage. The review criteria, and then the supplemental use regulations for wireless communication facilities. We also had a note, if you get to that point and want to consider the draft motion as prepared by staff, we realized later the recommendation says be approved. If you wanted to do that, Plan Commission as a plan unit development major amendment goes to the Township Board. So rather than be approved, it would be recommended for approval to the Township Board if you get to that point and want to consider that motion. But otherwise, a lot of the other information is as it was in the, as you've seen already.
Thank you.
All right.
So from my notes, what I had previously was that we were looking for specifically renderings and documentation on that communication with Munson. I saw that the renderings are in the packet. to me, I might have missed it, but looking through the documentation on the conversation with Munson, it looked like Munson was saying we talked to him in 2023. Atlas was saying it's been more recent than that. Not sure if that's a technicality or if I misread it.
Yeah, I think from what we heard at Munson, it was somewhat more recent. I forget the exact date, but it seems like there was just such a large impasse between what each party wanted that it never really progressed much further than that.
Thoughts from the commissioners?
I had one concern with Munson's comments. It states in here, the property and contractual rights that AT&T sought through its agreement were wholly incomparable with Munson's regulatory environment and operational needs. To my understanding, that AT&T runs FirstNet, which helps their first responders. So it seems contradictory to me that it's not reliant on their Munson's operational needs.
I went down that rabbit hole a little bit the same and kind of did some digging on whether there are regulatory incompatibilities and kind of found the same thing, like really it's the opposite. But with that said, not sure that our decision can be based on Munson's desire to not proceed, right?
That's correct. My next comment I had was, I didn't see any generators located on the site plan. Are there any required for this?
Let's see. We did, I don't know if it was a generator, but what did we make a comment on? They identified, I don't know if it would be a generator specifically, they identified a utility rack, but we asked to have a detail of it, which has not yet been included, which might add some detail on what that is going to be. I don't know if they commented specifically if there was going to be a generator or not.
My next caution for the Planning Commission was, I looked at the renderings. I'm not very confident that they're showing the height of that tower properly.
This is from, I believe, North Long Lake Road. This is from the intersection.
And I wouldn't honestly know how to show that height at the proper elevation. Going through pictures like this. So it's just, just my caution.
Okay.
Is there a way to get independent verification through a third party, kind of like we do with sound study verification, if that ends up being a sticking point?
That is a good question. I think it's something we can look into. I'm not sure exactly where, but we can dig out something, I think.
Molly, did you have something?
Well, just what you're saying, the 120 feet that they're saying that they're going to have, you're not reasonably sure that that's depicted in these photographs? Is that your?
Yeah, I have a little experience with renderings and hand renderings. I know how to do this from a point perspective and sketching, but adding it onto a picture like this, it's pretty tough to do.
I don't see the applicant here tonight to speak to the methodology behind the rendering, right?
Correct, yeah. Is there a particular view that would be more helpful for seeing, verifying?
I don't know if there is a particular view or a particular way to show a accurate rendering of the height through a picture. When I work on buildings, we model it in a software to get the height correct. Then input the CAD file that the survey is on to get elevation lines of the earth. That might be more accurate than this, but again, it would be very tough to do with such a unique object and such a difficult site, especially what's surrounding it.
Okay.
When you compare them trees that are on this, this particular one as being about a quarter of the height of that tower,
Yeah, and it's,
so that.
I was trying to think of the light pole. If the light pole is 30 feet, right? But it's further back than that. And I couldn't find a distant point where, yeah, it's,
I don't know if they had to account for both attempted perspective from how far back it is from the road and also any topographical changes on the
yeah,
site.
how would you place that from a picture like this? I would assume they just kind of put it in. I'm not sure if they looked at a topography map, then placed it in that location.
It'd be
So
hard to
it's-
accurately put it in that spot.
So to me, the pictures are not a problem. I was more worried about if they're gonna have a generator in the future, if we could have any kind of, would that, noise on that be, how would that affect? What could we do about that? Or
Anything would have to meet the noise ordinance. I don't know if the noise ordinance talks about generators specifically, but anything, both has time limits on noise, it has specific amount limits, and it's a police-powered ordinance, so it can be more kind of easily enforced than just zoning specifically. So the noise ordinance would be in effect. I don't know beyond that specifically.
So the store itself right there probably has a generator. And as long as there is an emergency with no power, that's capable to be running 24/7, right?
I mean, if it did it in accordance with noise ordinance, then in theory, like, to the best of my knowledge.
So is there any way we could write in the motion or the conditions to protect the neighbors for a generator?
Just any,
Or just assume that it's going to be taken care of through the noise ordinance?
you could, or just say any equipment, including generators, shall meet all township ordinances, including the noise ordinance, something to that effect. Okay.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Do you need to state that?
Well, you think that needs to be stated then?
It could ultimately just reinforce the ordinance that's already up there, but just as a sort of FY, as you're installing equipment, that it's still subject to all of that. Like some conditions we have used in the past, you sort of go with sort of the either standard language or verify things that procedurally just need to happen as well. So I don't think there would be any harm in it specifically. Actually did, here is, hold that thought. Since the one thing for having it to the board, I did put the draft motion on a flash drive.
So we could address the generator through a number 10 condition, and then how are we feeling about the renderings? Is this a trust but verify situation, or is this we think that's going to be in the ballpark of what the reality is?
We could ask them how they were prepared, so that they could indicate how, that may, what was their method. That might be the way that, at least requiring that information.
Do we need to make that another stipulation here, or?
If you want to verify that, I think it would be, that would be a condition of it.
The height they're proposing for the tower meets the setbacks.
That we know, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Right. The renderings, I think, are technically not required by the ordinance. I think it's more to visually show, based on where they are choosing to show it on the 2D map, to just show a 3D version of it.
again, it was a point of caution. Don't take the renderings at face value.
Right.
So we know for sure that it's gonna be 120 feet from any building if it falls over and, you know, all of that.
Yeah, where's
Yeah, it
the...
meets all the other requirements of the ordinance in terms of fall zone and that type of thing.
Here versus the nearest building is this corner. It's measuring, you can't see it when I point on the screen here, but it's measuring, this is 130.
I'm pretty sure we measured it.
I think we measured it on the 2-scale drawing. They didn't actually list the measurement from here to this corner, which is the nearest building corner. But I think we measured it out. It was at least 120 as the height, as the proposed height. Unless was it on a different page?
I've got the setbacks listed on the one plan sheet from all the corners,
From all corners? Okay.
or from the property line, it says.
Okay.
And the smallest one's 233 feet.
Those are the setbacks from the parcel lines.
I'm assuming it's from the property lines. It's got north, east, south, and west.
Mm-hmm.
It's on sheet 5.
Right, we were talking about the one,
Closest it to the building.
the distance between the corner of the building and the tower.
So is everybody set, or?
Steve, did you want to pop up the draft
Oh,
edition
yep.
number 10?
Yeah. any
Yes,
equipment-
I'm good.
Something to that effect? Any equipment, including generators, shall be operated in accordance with all township ordinances, including the noise ordinance?
I'm happy with that.
Okay.
And
Could they provide that information? I mean, instead of, that's kind of like a statement being applied, could they actually provide us what equipment?
Which would give us actual
So we know
data
what's
to go
actu-
off of, yeah.
So we actually know what's being installed out there, and then also say that it would be operated in accordance with the ordinance.
Did you want methodology on the rendering?
I don't think I need it.
Okay.
Well, I'm ready to make that motion then, that,
Wait, let's,
Okay.
yeah, let's demonstrate.
oh, I thought it was,
Any
oh, wait a minute.
The applicant shall provide data, or provide information to demonstrate that any equipment, including generators, will be operated in accordance with all township ordinances, including the noise ordinance.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make the motion that application SUP.
Oh,
Did you have one more thing?
no, you want to make sure he reads it off.
Oh.
And not off the sheet,
Oh, yep, okay.
because it's been amended.
So I'm gonna just say as amended 1 through 10.
And then also recommended to approval of the township board.
So as it's written in the report is in error, as it
You don't
is.
want to say written in.
As
Say
long as
that.
you read it off the screen, you're good.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. Oh, all right, sorry.
The highlighted
Okay,
areas are
I'll make the
amended.
motion that application SUP 1997-08, excuse me, 06-G,
Yeah.
Yes.
submitted by Atlas Tower One LLC for a planned unit development major amendment for the wireless communications facility at 3850 North Long Lake Road on a portion of parcel number 05-009-001-00, be recommended for approval for the town, to the township board, subject to the following conditions, 1 through 10, as indicated in the planning department report 2026-99, and as amended.
Okay, motion by Robertson.
I'll support it, but we also need to do the findings of fact.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh,
I forgot
That
that
was
there was
on
an
the
entire
agenda.
other motion.
You let me do all that.
Oh, you
Did I
want to do
miss
that one first? Okay,
Oh,
so it's moved and supported, then we'll go back and do the.
so we can do
let's
the
do
other
that.
one? Okay.
Okay, motion by Robertson, second by Agostinelli. Any discussion on this one, which is specifically the recommendation to the Township Board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll make the other motion. That the findings of fact for application SUP 1997-06-G as presented in the Planning Department Report 2026-99 and being made part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
Okay, we've got a motion from Robertson and support from Agostinelli. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
You guys have everything you need.
All right, yep, we'll follow up with the applicant on the motion that was made and the additional information to provide.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Welcome back.
All right. Next item on our agenda of old business, item D, PD 2026-100, Olson Foundation Site Condominium, findings of fact.
So I've gone through the public hearing at the last meeting, and the Planning Commission directed the staff to prepare findings of fact for, this is the Olson Foundation Development Site Condominium, which is proposing to be located north of Rennie School Road, west of US 31. And this is located at parcel 05-032-001-09. It's currently zoned IG General Industrial, and the application is for a site condominium development of 41 lots or units ranging from 0.57 acres up to 5.11 acres. So there's findings of fact is being provided. We felt that the application meets all the criteria for site condominium. There is a recommended findings of fact and a recommendation to the Township Board. This, as you know, is part of a larger development that the Olson Foundation is doing at that location, which includes the new headquarters for the Cherryland Electric Co-op facility. And there's a process underway to extend a new road between Rennie School Road north to Meadow Lane Drive. One of the things so why this is being proposed, there's also the water, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure that's being provided, not just ultimately to serve this site, but to serve the Cherryland Electric facility, to potentially serve future development to the west, where there's zoned multifamily, and to go along the roadway, which will be a public road from Rennie School up to Meadow Lane. In talking with the engineer and the township engineer and the township engineer's communication with the Olson Foundation and their engineers, there may have been some adjustments made to the street layout, particularly the Olson Boulevard, which is the north-south, which could potentially impact this. So at this point, I think it's still appropriate to move it forward as presented, but we'll be working with the engineers, as there is the recommendation that there be the engineering review and approval by the township engineer to include all infrastructure and the stormwater. But we just want to make sure that the road configuration hasn't been altered. If it has, we want to make sure that the Planning Commission has had a chance to review that and potentially adjust its recommendation to the Township Board. Mainly what I'm referring to is not so much the private road infrastructure that's being planned as part of the site condo, but Olson Boulevard, which I had mentioned is going to be a public road managed by the County Road Commission. There was, as that was laid out, there was concern about the speeds associated with that, potentially because it has some long stretches. So they are looking at potentially including some roundabouts at a couple locations along that Olson Boulevard to slow down the traffic. Otherwise, it would be stated as a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit through there. So in trying to build it more as a industrial park and so forth, that area, trying to see if there may be some other mechanisms to potentially, at least from the street engineer standpoint or the highway engineer standpoint, to manage the speeds on that. So just need to coordinate, ensure with the township engineer and their consultation with the developers, engineers, to make sure that this is what is being proposed is not being altered.
So, John, effectively, we should feel comfortable approving what's before us, recognizing that there's something in the works that it might reappear, needing an amendment.
Correct.
Molly?
Just a question on our findings of fact number 1, about the third bullet point down. Most of the units appear to meet the requirement, it's for size of the unit. What do we mean most? And why not all?
There was a 2 that we previously discussed.
That little tiny,
Corner,
that
yeah,
little
yeah.
corner one?
Yeah, that one corner one, and so I think we're.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that was the discussion that we had previously, that when the applicant was here and talking with the developer, that they felt like that shouldn't be an issue, but we just, it appears it should be okay, but.
They made an odd-shaped lot.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how you're gonna fit within setbacks for
Right.
anything on that, but.
Ultimately, what they can do is look at, if for some reason it doesn't meet that, there's the ability to adjust the site condo itself to either combine units or in some form adjust that. It would be an amendment process, but ideally, we're trying to avoid that. It just had that appearance that because it's corner lots, you have 2 fronts on them, and because of the configuration of it being kind of like a triangular shape, could be potentially difficult when trying to develop it under the IG standards, which have limitations on front area for parking and so forth.
If they put a roundabout there, it would cut into that lot even more.
Is that the one that we're gonna put the roundabout on possibly?
I don't know.
They were potentially looking at Buffalo Drive and Olson Boulevard, and I believe Harrison Drive and Olson Boulevard. I don't know if it would also be at the southerly intersection as well. But that would be, like I said, that's something that we'll confer with the township engineer and see where things are at on that, if that's still proceeding, or we haven't seen any plans to that effect.
There's no problem with us approving it the way it is, and then if they can't build on that unit, it's Unit 2 that is the tight one, that they would come back and claim we okayed it, so they could get variances or anything like that.
So what we'd probably do in that case is they could make an amendment to the site condo to adjust. We've done that with other site condos.
They would have to add it to it, or they would have to.
You'd have to amend the actual site condo and record updated documents for those units, whatever that configuration might be for, let's say, Unit 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Or just not use it. If they didn't use it, it wouldn't be an issue.
Well, I'm sure they could use it. It's just a matter of, the goal here is to, and this is why we brought it up in the initial review, is to avoid creating something that's unusable. The idea is to do these efficiently so that you don't have to run into that. But they assured us that it was usable, so I guess we'll see.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that, the way it's shaken out?
It's gonna be a 12-foot building. Teeny.
Any further discussion, or is somebody prepared to make a motion?
Just one quick question, which is, you mentioned that this could be a 55-mile-an-hour road. There's no concern on those number of lots that have frontage along that potential 55-mile-an-hour that need to then have vehicles turning in and out from them?
Well, that's why there is there's this discussion about this particular issue, because it's not just those, but it's also Cherryland, who's going to have heavy equipment, trucks and so forth coming in and out of there. They don't want that situation either. So this is, I think, one of the challenges for the road commission actually building a new road, and they're typically not used to doing that, and we're typically always seeing private roads, but there's been obviously an interest to better serve the community to make this a public road, because it is connecting to county-owned roads that are already existing. So it's just meeting whatever the standards that the County Road Commission uses. But yeah, that's why they're looking at this. I don't know if that is going to, if the design is going to change, and that's why I say it has a potential to, if the design changes, we'll want to bring it back.
Thanks.
Can we petition the road commission to not have it be 55? I mean, there are other county roads that are not 55.
So they have their criteria. That's what, it's not something that they, based on the design and the lack of curves in there, and straightaways and intersections and that type of thing, based on their criteria that they use for road design, it has a potential to say that it has to be 55. So that's why they're looking at, or at least from what we heard, we haven't seen anything, is the option to maybe alter the design in some way, like I mentioned, create roundabouts. From my understanding, there was some reluctance to alter the design as a whole because it's already been put in place, but they're looking at seeing what alternatives may be there to incorporate some additional design elements to ultimately reduce the speed limit.
I mean, if it becomes an issue, then we'd have to go back, they'd have to go back.
Well, if it.
The board would petition them and say, this is a safety problem on this road. Just like West Silver Lake Road, we had to go to them and say, we need to do a speed study on this. It's a safety problem. We want to have it changed.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do, is not have to go down that route, and to do it, to design it appropriately, so then you don't get to that point of a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit to begin with. I don't think anybody wants the 55. I don't even, it's just how can it be done through a design initially so you don't put yourself in a position, because I would imagine if you were just to do that and accept the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit now and do a speed study, you're going to find it's not going to drop. So the goal is to do it through the design. So it may come back to you, I don't know, but I think what we'll do is we're going to be having that conversation before it goes to the town board. And if there is any changes, we're going to mention that it refer back to the planning commission if it alters the site condominium layout in any way.
One more thing then on speed limits. I'll get on my usual non-motorized spiel about, so if it's a 55, we already know from Silver Lake, nobody's a fan of putting pedestrian crossings in a 55. There's a park easement that sits right across from this complex. I can't remember where exactly the residential piece is, but I have kind of concerns about putting a park with no way for pedestrian access from that side, or, I mean, I don't really know what their intentions are. I know that was just part of the overall thought process, but kind of tough to do non-motorized connectivity on a 55, I think.
Especially when the park's not at a intersection.
Unless that's where the roundabout is and you put it in a roundabout.
So the plan is to have on the west side, or did we determine on both sides, or?
At least the west side, to connect to, like to the one on Stadium Drive, and that it's connecting to the residential that is proposed, rather than the industrial side of the development?
Yeah, so there's going to be the shared pathway on the west side of that at a minimum, because that's already on the Cherryland Electric site plan when that went in. And so as the development, at least on the west side of Olson Boulevard, there'll be a shared pathway that will go up to that Buffalo Drive. And then from Buffalo Drive up to Meadow Lane Drive will be a sidewalk along there. Then across Buffalo Drive, or running parallel to Buffalo Drive, would be a shared use pathway that would connect to the existing shared use pathway, which is along the west side of US 31.
So that's, that the Olson Foundation's already aware of that, so that would be, you know, there's different ways that that could be installed, but that's,
All right, I know we've looked at this one pretty extensively through several cycles of planning and consideration. Is there anyone who has any more comments, concerns, or are we ready to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that findings of fact for application SPR 2026-08 submitted by William Crane on behalf of the Olson Foundation for a site condominium at parcel 05 032 001 09 as presented in the Planning Department Report 2026-100 and being made a part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
We have a motion by Augustinelli with support by Fudge. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passes.
Okay, then I would make a motion to recommend to the Township Board that application SPR 2026-08 be approved, subject to the conditions 1 through 7.
Support.
We have a motion by Augustinelli with support by Fudge. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. All right. Well, I guess I want to say I hope it doesn't come back, because we've spent a lot of time on it. It's a good development. But then again, if there's an opportunity to revise it and help slow the speeds down, then we'll take another look at it. All right. With that, we are on to new business. First item of new business is item A, PD 2026-101, Aero Park Cherryland Center, consideration of appeal of sidewalk requirement.
so there's some background on this request. The Aero Park application we received back in May of 2025. This is for change of use at the former Big Lots retail store for 23,000 square foot indoor trampoline park. That's in the planned shopping center zoning district, which is at the Cherryland Center. The site plan approval was granted by the Planning Commission back on June 11th, 2025. There were 9 conditions as part of that, including the requirement for a sidewalk in a conformance with the zoning ordinance and the non-motorized plan. So there was the project went forward. The conditions were not met. There was a temporary C of O granted to Aero Park to establish their operation back in April. In order to still meet those requirements, the applicant offered to provide a performance guarantee to cover the cost of the installation of the sidewalk. There is now a request by their legal counsel to appeal a portion of Section 522A in the ordinance, which deals with sidewalks. So there is a provision in there that says regarding in certain sections, which includes this section of the township, that the township engineer and planning director may modify a requirement for a non-motorized pathway in whole or in part if in their mutual opinion unfavorable conditions exist. So we're talking, the location is at 1144 West South Airport Road. It's essentially connecting an existing sidewalk to the east, which is where Seven Brew is, and then there's a connection to an existing sidewalk that was installed as part of the K1 go-karting operation. So it's an area that is roughly about 20 feet wide, kind of a grassed area with some existing trees. It's, as the Cherryland Center has been redeveloping, pretty much most of all the redevelopment that's gone in there has provided sidewalks. So there doesn't appear, based on the review of the township engineer and myself, looking at, didn't identify any unfavorable conditions existing on there. So the report is provided for in your packet, but the applicant is, as further stated in there, in that requirement, or that section 522A6, it says, however, the requirement of pathway construction may not be waived entirely. This decision shall be appealable to the Planning Commission. So that is what the request that we received on June 22nd, to place that on the agenda for the Planning Commission for your consideration. So I see the applicant is here with their legal counsel. We also have Jennifer Graham is here, the township engineer.
Any thoughts or questions from the commission? Just, I'm wondering, John, you'd indicated that, I can't remember your exact language, but I guess my question would be, anyone who is determined to be obligated to construct sidewalk in the Cherryland Center development associated with redevelopment or whatever created that obligation, they have done that sidewalk. Some developments were like on the back side or didn't have any association directly with the sidewalk in the way that this or other developments that have constructed sidewalk did.
Correct.
So this would be an exception to the rule that we've enforced across the board with everyone else.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to hear from the applicant, or our engineer is also here if we want to hear from our engineer? Why don't we start with the applicant?
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. DeGood. It's a pleasure to see you again, and
Likewise.
members of the Planning Commission. My name is Steve Roach. I'm an attorney with Miller Canfield. I represent Aero Park TC LLC. Eric Maxon is here as well. And Aero Park operates the indoor trampoline park at the Cherryland Center and as part of the revitalization of that center. We seek relief from the sidewalk mandate. Aero Park is a tenant, not the owner, and that's an important consideration in this. As a tenant, they don't have the power or the right to grant any easement, which is what's required. It can't be done. They just don't have it. They don't own the land. So we just can't do it legally. That doesn't exist. There was a letter of credit that was posted. There's been a draw on it. We're a little bit disappointed that that happened in light of this appeal. We'd request that the Planning Commission eliminate the sidewalk mandate and return the money to our client. There currently is no sidewalk along the property that they lease. The Cherryland Center primarily is accessed through vehicle traffic. There is little pedestrian traffic. Virtually every guest of the trampoline park uses some sort of motorized transportation. And importantly, the ordinance itself is actually unconstitutional under Sixth Circuit law, which is Knight versus Nashville, 67, Fed Reporter, 4th, 816, and that opinion came out in 2023 as a published opinion. If relief isn't given as requested, Aero Park plans to commence litigation to address the unconstitutional taking. We greatly appreciate your kind consideration of our request to eliminate the sidewalk mandate for this parcel.
Has your client tried to work with the building owner to get a sidewalk in place?
I believe the answer to that is yes, and the owner is difficult, to put it simply.
Question for staff.
Go ahead, Kara.
So in the notes, and I can't remember the conversation going back, whether it happened here or elsewhere, it said that the tenant had sort of atypically and voluntarily agreed to make the improvements. Do we in what format was that made? Was that made in writing? Like, what's our documentation on that piece of it?
So, yeah, typically, we don't really deal with the tenants in situation. It's always with the landowner. So this is very unusual. But there is the performance guarantee provision. The applicant was really seeking to open their business at a certain time, and they were seeking at least to get a temporary certificate of occupancy. So there was nothing that we could do. The only relief that was allowed was the performance guarantee provision within the ordinance. And in this case, the tenant did sign an agreement between themselves and the township to offer a line of credit to cover the cost of the sidewalk improvement. There was also another requirement was to improve the parking lot because it had failed in many areas. In that case, the landlord did pave some portions of the parking lot, but there was roughly somewhere around $25,000, $30,000 that they provided in a performance guarantee as well to cover the cost of the parking lot improvements. So there was a deadline to have that improvement done by, so it was issued somewhere around mid-April, and it was due to be done, those improvements, the sidewalk and the parking lot improvements were to be done by June 15th, and there was no action done on that, so we did pursue the draw on the line of credit, and then also in accordance with the performance agreement. And then there was also the landlord, in the case of the parking lot, did provide a cash escrow to the township for that particular improvement.
Molly?
Okay. So the leasee knew that they had a landlord to deal with, came to the board, requested a use of this property. The board said, you can use the property, but you gotta do this, 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 and this. And the leasee agreed to do all those things before he started any kind of construction there. So in my mind, we wouldn't have given it without the sidewalk. There would have been we wouldn't have given that use to them. So in my mind, try to figure out a way to work with your landlord on it. That's just my thought.
If I may, there is a issue as to whether or not there is actually an agreement as opposed to an imposition upon the tenant to do the work. And under the case that I cited to you, Knight versus Nashville, if you mandate something as a condition to getting the approval, which is what you said was done, that actually, when it involves a sidewalk ordinance exactly like the one that you have, that ordinance was unconstitutional. This ordinance was not constitutional. You can't coerce an agreement out of somebody to undertake an act that they constitutionally have a right not to take and then stick it to them when you're the government. The Constitution is there to protect people. It's not there so that you can mandate things that then require the landowners or tenants or the users to forego and give up property rights that they otherwise wouldn't have to do. And so it's to assert that there is an agreement by the tenant really isn't quite accurate.
So why do you think we
So
can tell anybody to do anything?
Yeah, so I would just focus on what the request was at hand here, and it's requesting an appeal. So looking back at section 522A6, which was in regard whether there's unfavorable physical conditions, and that's what is being appealed to the Planning Commission. As I mentioned in your packet there, the township engineer and the planning director, we didn't determined that we did not see that there was any unfavorable conditions in this location. We've seen other sidewalks go in. It's a fairly wide area. It seems to me that this is based on our analysis, that this is an area that could accommodate the construction of a sidewalk and wouldn't need to have any type of appeal made to it.
So the appeal, in what you're saying is there any reason why we would provide relief, say a steep hill or a parkway between the parking lot and the back of curb of the roadway that's too narrow to facilitate a sidewalk, and we have no circumstance under which an appeal would be appropriate, and no circumstance under which we would not have required the sidewalk to be provided in the first place?
Correct.
So it strikes me that we don't have much to stand on other, Mr. Roach, I know you're indicating some legal aspects that I think are frankly probably beyond this planning commission and likely, if necessary, need to be litigated. But in terms of what we have required and what we required in this case, and frankly what we would intend to require in future cases, when a sidewalk can be built and it's warranted, I think that I don't have any reason to provide a waiver. Is there anyone who has any further thoughts, or are we ready to make a motion?
I agree with you, Chris, and I feel bad for your tenant because I understand it's not their land to put a sidewalk on.
And just to remind you, that application, when it comes in, the owner is on that application. So it's not just the application to establish the use, in this case, an indoor entertainment center as permitted in that district. It's an application that's, made by the applicant, in this case, the tenant there, but also the owner of that property is also part of that application.
So it's not solely relying on the tenant.
Correct.
Did the owner was just notified of our process and what our agreement was, or the owner agreed to that as well?
The owner agreed to the parking lot improvements that are needed to complete those. They completed part of them, but then they did not complete the remainder of those, so they did provide an escrow, cash escrow, to cover that performance guarantee.
The owner was also aware of the, copied on any communication of this approval with conditions from the Planning Commission last year.
Would anyone like to make a motion? It seems as though we have consensus.
I'll make the motion that the request from Stephen M. Ragatsky of Miller Canfield, dated June 22nd, 2026, for an appeal for the Township Engineers and Planning Director's joint opinion regarding physical site conditions for sidewalk construction at parcel 05-014-049-02 be denied based on the findings detailed in the staff determination letter dated May 27th, 2026.
Support.
We have a motion by Robertson with support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you. All right, next on our new business agenda, item B, PD 2026-102, Kylie, mixed use, forgive me,
Suburban
rezoning introduction.
So as you recall, we've been talking about this particular area in terms of the master plan amendment. that went forward to this area that was identified as a airport gateway. It's a mixed-use area that would allow for things, hotels, restaurants, offices, things that would serve the need of travelers using the airport. Currently, it was planned for high-density residential use in that particular area. That would still be permitted in this particular area. So that was amended as part of the master plan. And then following that process, after the master plan amendment was done, there was an effort to establish one of the new mixed-use districts, which initially the township established the mixed-use neighborhood district, and now there's a modified commercial district, which is a mixed-use suburban, which still allows some residential, but also does allow some low-impact, non-automobile-oriented uses that are what's envisioned in the master plan. So the mixed-use suburban district was enacted, and then we received an application from a property owner that owns there's 9 parcels identified in the application, and looks like 7 of the 9 are owned by the applicant, but then they also received authorization from 2 of the other remaining property owners to make an application from that zoning district, which is a couple of different districts in there, R3 multifamily and the R1 one-family residential, to rezone those to the mixed-use suburban district. So we've shown the map with in the report.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
that
this-
one-
let me zoom in on it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's,
I think if you go down, I guess they don't have one with the zoning overlay, just the future land use overlay.
So there's 3 parcels in there that are not wanting to get the
oh,
zoning
there's the
changed.
zoning, yeah. Yeah, it's, this block, can I
Yeah,
highlight the
that's what I was
block?
saying, just use the report one, but it just doesn't have the zoning.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah, but go back up, yeah.
to this one that has it on here, okay.
That's just the future land use, but yeah, there's 3 parcels that are not part of this.
So the orange area is what we recently,
Amended on the master plan.
right,
So that has the new airport gateway designation.
and the area with the red perimeter are those parcels which either are owned by the applicant or have received permission from the applicant to seek to be rezoned.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is everything in that orange square gonna be rezoned then, or is there some property owners that stayed, or that are not involved in the rezoning?
There would be 4 parcels that would be not, there'd be 2 that front on town line.
Okay, then, okay.
And then the 2 that front on South Airport would not be included.
This one on the far one on the west.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So just to give you a reference, the one on the west, that's the rifle shop.
They do not want,
No.
would change.
And then the other one is, the one that's not included on South Airport is the upholstery store in there.
Mhm.
And then the other 2 on town line are single-family residences. But there are other single-family residences that are included in there.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any additional questions or thoughts for staff? Molly?
This rezoning is not going to affect their business. They can continue on with their business,
Mhm.
whether it's rezoned or not, and
Well,
residential can stay residential.
Well, it doesn't include those businesses. Those businesses
they're
that,
not-
they're not part of this application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if they were part of the application, relative to Molly's question, that they could continue on in their residential capacity or in their business capacity, regardless of the change in zoning, correct?
Correct.
They
If you
just
were-
chose not to be part of the application.
Right.
And if you recall, when we were going through the master plan process, we had public input. And we had a lot of people come in, residents of Holcomb Court, and the general consensus was, I mean, there was discussion about, having hotel use here and so forth, and there didn't seem, most of them seemed fairly supportive of that, and didn't, because the other, as it was currently designated, was for high-density residential, so apartments or hotel, and actually there were some comments mentioned that they prefer having a hotel versus apartments. So I think one of the largest concerns here is access along South Airport Road and Town Line. So that's where there's some very strong access management requirements above and beyond the ordinance that are specific to the mixed-use neighborhood district, that they would apply to these properties as should they develop.
Well, I see the applicants here. I don't know if we have reason to hear from the applicant, or I know it's getting late, and if there's an interest in just advancing this to public, I mean, we could go ahead and just make a motion, or is there anything the applicant feels compelled to say?
Take an opportunity to speak for a second. All right. My name is Wayne Kiley, 9514 South M37 in Buckley. And that guy over there is Rob Mead, and he is my co-applicant, and his name should have been on here. He's my partner on this project. I will just add one point of clarification. Of the 9 parcels that are reflected in the application, we do have financial interest in the other 2, so that they're all part of the application. The other 2 or 3 parcels that were not included, I just didn't reach out to them. I saw no reason, because I wasn't, at this point, motivated to try to acquire those properties. At a later time, maybe, we can always come back later. So I guess I think at this point, it's just our request that it goes to public hearing. We've reached out and talked to a variety of people up and down the street, Holcomb Court and all around the area, and gotten several signed letters of support for our project. And we thank staff and the Planning Commission and Town Board for updating and changing the master deed that will accommodate this new mixed-use suburban zoning. And so what we're doing is just applying to make our properties, which is primarily residential or vacant properties, consistent with the new zoning that's been updated. So that is our request, and we thank you for all of your help and support. If you have any questions?
I'm concerned that those properties that aren't planned to be rezoned will feel like they are getting swallowed up by something with bad intentions. And
That's not ever been expressed to me. In
that's
fact,
just my concern for those property owners, not having them in the room or in agreement with you. So when we go to a public hearing, those property owners will get a letter from the township, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm. They'll have a chance to.
Every parcel within 300 feet of all of these parcels.
right.
Might just be wise to let them know in person before they get that letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I have no problem doing that.
All right, anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that application Z-2026-04 submitted by L. Wayne Kiley to rezone 9 parcels at the southwest corner of West South Airport Road and Town Line Road, and as listed in PD report number 2026-102, from the current zoning of R1 one-family residential and R3 multifamily residential to the proposed zoning of MU-S mixed-use suburban be scheduled for a public hearing for the August 12, 2026 Planning Commission regular meeting.
Support.
We have a motion from Yuli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, our last piece of new business, PD 2026-103, Wolverine Power Distribution Substation Special Use Permit, and this is an introduction.
I wanted to highlight that green looks very different on this screen than it does up there. I'm going to turn off zoning because it's all ag zoning up in that area. I wanted to show the map first. The current substation for Wolverine Power is up at the corner of Barney and Gray. Wolverine Power in this application is looking at this site at 5282 Gray Roads, just a little bit south from their current location. Indicated an increased need for capacity. They are, I believe, the supplier for Cherryland Electric, the distribution supplier. So this is an introduction, and this is considered as defined by the ordinance an essential service facility major, which covers a lot of the like essential service as sort of like a infrastructure. Other substations, some of the consumers' properties in town have this classification, which we reviewed one a few years ago when consumers upgraded a substation at Keystone, kind of other kind of utility or similar infrastructure would be considered like an essential service facility major. Staff conducted a completeness review of the application, and the applicants also provided some clarifying information. They had actually quite an extensive application, which we appreciated, commenting on all the standards of the ordinance. One of the kind of more major comments we had in our completeness review was some of the landscaping along the east side. Applicant did provide an updated landscaping plan. It was after packets went out, so that will be included in the next packet, or if there are any other questions you have for the applicant in the next updated site plan after we have a chance to review as well. Otherwise, they also were indicated needing to have stormwater review as is standard for all of our applications. In this case, it is being a secure facility. It's not going to have public parking, but it's still an improved site, so still to look at impacts it may have on other sites. So applicant is also here if you have any questions for the applicant.
Any thoughts from the Planning Commission?
Straightforward.
I have just one thought, and I will make sure. So the last substation project that we reviewed was for consumers on Keystone.
They upgraded a facility that was existing. Yeah.
Yep, correct. That's what I recall as well.
Yep.
But I have a thought that I want to drive by and take another look to affirm what I have a memory of. But driving by there and being somewhat disappointed in the efficacy of some of the landscaping that was installed to screen that facility. And I guess it speaks to that there's a lot of lovely landscaping on this plan that I'm grateful that Wolverine is willing to invest in. But I don't know if there's an applicant here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just address it to you guys. I would like you to consider, and I think maybe we'll further discuss whether or not some irrigation might be appropriate for the landscaping.
Yes, that is
Oh, if you're going to comment, please, I apologize for troubling you, but if you could step up.
Yeah.
My name's Elizabeth Hill. I am with Wolverine Power. We will be installing irrigation. We will be putting a well in. If you look at this, the landscape plan, there is a location south of the driveway, kind of on the west side, like on the southwest corner near the existing, or where the proposed landscaping is. And let's see.
Okay, this is the updated
Yep.
one.
Oh, yeah, there's the update. There is a well.
You said southwest corner?
Bethany, you might want to help me a little bit with the location.
Honestly, I'll take your word for it
Okay.
for now.
Yes.
It was just a comment, and I
Yes.
appreciate you stepping up.
So we knew that for this amount of landscaping, and honestly, the amount of money that we would be spending on that landscaping in order to keep it viable and thriving, we needed to install irrigation. We're also making sure we don't have to install any additional well for the landscaping that we're, on the new plan for the landscaping on the east side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Great, thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Anybody
I'm
else
happy to
have
stay up
any?
here if there's any other questions.
I don't think we have any.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in a month. Anybody ready to make a motion?
I'll make your motion. Motion that application SUP-2026-02 submitted by Elizabeth Hill, excuse me, Wolverine Power Supply Corporation, Inc., for a special use permit for an essential services facility major at 5282 Gray Road, parcel number 05-006-011-00, be accepted and scheduled for a public hearing for the August 12th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Support.
Motion by Fudge with support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion passes. All right, well, we've reached the end of our agenda, and we do have, well, not the end of our agenda, the end of our business agenda. We have another opportunity for public comment. If anybody would like to step up to the podium, state their name and address, and have your public comment be heard.
I just want, Wayne Kiley again. I just want to clarify one thing because Commissioner Ben Castelloni, is that pronounced correctly, raised the question about maybe squeezing out some of the other neighbors. And Stuff at Upholstery actually gave me a letter of support. He didn't want to be included in the new zoning, but he actually supports our application for that. So that really boils down to only two property owners that I haven't spoken with. One of them is willing to sell. The other one doesn't want anybody on their property. So I don't know exactly where I go with that, other than letting them know that there will be a public hearing on this and see where that goes from there. But I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Anyone else with comment? All right, we'll go on to our next item. We do not have any other business. Items for our next agenda.
So that's your study session that will be on July 22nd. One thing I was just thinking here, based on tonight's discussion regarding the moratorium, and in way that language is provided for, it talks about doing a findings of fact. So it's something that we could have that discussion, or at least prepare some rationale for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation of findings of fact for the Township Board in advance of their expected execution of the zoning ordinance amendment and subsequent resolution, so that when that time comes for that resolution to be in place, we'll have the findings of fact provided to the Township Board.
Sounds like a great idea, John.
Yep.
That'll be one of the items.
We also have follow-up from our previous study session on some of the zoning ordinance, child care center, some of the other kind of next batch of text amendments. I think that was mostly, that I think should be plenty, especially digesting
Sounds
tonight's
like
meeting.
a fairly regular meeting for our study session.
All right.
And to be clear that, well, anybody could come to the study session and make public comment. Findings of fact regarding a moratorium, would that not require a public hearing at the Planning Commission?
I don't think I'll double check, but I don't think it requires a public hearing. But what we would do is provide some initial like initial draft, or at least some provisions for that findings of fact at your study session, with the idea that I would think that would be put on your regular business agenda for August 12th.
Okay.
Because by that point, they will, the township board will have considered the zoning ordinance amendment, which allows them to consider moratoriums, and then the next meeting, we can then forward them findings that, hey, we've been considering this for this particular moratorium.
It's on Tuesday's agenda, is that?
To intro it, so by August, it will be adopted, so that gives us time to then also prepare the information, because as you said, it would be a recommendation from the planning commission, so.
All right.
Gives the planning commission time to prepare that.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
I would make a motion, we adjourn.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for a good meeting tonight.